Coming to you live from the Hellmouth, adjacent. It's the Popular Cinema Podcast. I'm your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill, or what's left of my hearing is Bill. Everything's fine until you started blasting it.
I think I almost forgot the opening, Bill.
What do you mean you forgot?
I couldn't find the theme music. I couldn't find the knob to turn the volume down.
You're all discombobulated over there. Get it together.
I know I'm ready to rock and roll, but there's just so much going on right here. I'm trying to order custom curtains and
Are you doing curtains or blinds?
blinds.
Okay.
Blinds. So I'm trying to work two different angles here. There's a place I normally use, and they have a sale going on, but we went to J.C. Penney's also. So I'm trying to find out which one gives the better price. But I need the
Why don't you
people.
go with which one is still going to be in business in 6 months, which would probably disqualify JCPenney. So I would go with someone else.
We went to J.C. Penney's the other day because one of the other ladies in this suburban complex of ours, um, she has these motorized blinds, and she goes, just go ask, just mention our names, and they'll hook you up. And so we went there, and as we pull in, we're like, who still shops at J.C. Penney's?
Apparently, that lady that bought the blinds, and probably that's
Yeah,
it.
but when you look at it, it's like the grandma crowd. It's like you remember when your grandmother or like some parent of yours gave you like the old clothes, like the Wranglers, stuff that you didn't want to wear to school, but they got them from J.C. Penney's. They were like,
No, I refused to do that, which is why my parents decided to stop buying me clothes and just gave me money to go buy my own, which was smart because I wasn't going to have that nonsense.
you wore Bugle Boys back in the day.
Really? Are you trying to date me to like 1982?
Well, you had Bugle Boys. I always wanted Bugle Boys. I never had them.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, you couldn't really tell. There was all the same color blue pants anyway.
Oh, you could tell. You could tell the difference between polyester and the people who are wearing Bugle Boys. I mean, it's almost like the guys that were wearing the Docker shoes, and I think I had the size 13 Hush Puppy Brown laces.
Did you get them from Tom McCann? That's so cute.
I mean, you were a little bit more fashionable back in the day, if I recall.
Well, I was on trend, as they call it,
You were on
at the
trend,
time.
but you might have been a little bit too trendy, which would have pointed to your gayness. So you needed to probably tone it down, probably about like 5 notches.
Really?
Anyway, how are you doing?
Anyway, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. We were last night we got into bed early, Chris and I, and we turned on Dateline because we watched true crime up here, and
Right.
it had Jim Jones on there. So
Yeah, like drink the Kool Aid, Jim Jones.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's where they get
Uh,
that phrase from, by the way. You know that, right?
what am I new? I've watched like
I don't
several
know.
different movies on this. The one with Powers Booth, that was always a good one, and this
Mhm.
actually had some footage I've never seen before. He was like, "Drink the green sea. Everybody drink the green sea." That's what he kept yelling out on the audio.
Mhm.
I mean,
That
it's
sounds like a
scary.
delightful Saturday evening entertainment.
Oh, we love the true crime up here. It's like we
Oh,
all get
really?
all very giddy. They're like, "Ooh, they're going to be showing on Snap the murder that happened in Ohio." We're like, "Ooh,
Ooh,
fire it up."
ooh. So cute. I watched the commentary for the Infinity War Blu-ray last night.
How long is the commentary?
2.5 hours, which is the same length as the movie.
Okay, so who talks on the commentary?
The writers and the Russo brothers.
Okay.
The thing about it is, I don't really like movie commentaries. Like, I don't dislike them. Of course, I love this movie, so I wanted to see anything that was said about the movie by the people who made the movie. But honestly, I find it's better for me to like rip the audio from the DVD and then just like listen to it in my car, like a podcast or something, because it just feels like it's I have a problem with people talking in the movies. Like I know you have the same problem. So to me, it always feels like I'm watching a movie with somebody talking through the whole movie, even though it's the people that made the movie. It still bothers me. It's a thing I have. So I'm not a fan of listening to a commentary while watching the movie. So I mean, it had some interesting bon mots, little, insights and so forth into the making of the movie. Nothing earth shattering or anything, but I mean,
Is there a few things that you can give me as well as our audience? Because I don't think anybody is going to be listening to the 2.5 hour commentary of Infinity War,
I'm trying to
except the
think.
die-hard nerds, which that includes you.
Wow, I'm trying to think. We'll come back to it because I have to think about it. I was having cocktails at the time. I'm not sure it's all like crystal clear.
Oh, okay. Well, that's you watch 2.5 hours and you don't have anything to come up with, like costumes
I have to,
yet.
I mean, it's like a lot of like, right here is where we decided to cut this scene because, it just didn't flow for us. And we thought this was like an extra scene that we already had exposition somewhere else in the movie. You know how it is. It's very technical.
Hmm. All right. That reminds me, Bill. Moving on here. This is episode 74. For episode 75, I think we're going to have a guest host on. I'm going to try to see if we can get Nadia hooked up two
Oh,
weeks from
that's
now,
cool.
and have her make an appearance.
That's cool.
So, yeah, yeah, we like to reward our listeners.
Yes,
Um,
that lucky girl. It's better than winning like the prize at the fair.
uh,
Uh,
is it going to be upsetting when I go off the rails when she says something like, you know what, my favorite movie of the year, Justice League, and then I'm just going to have to cut her mic.
nope. I'm gonna be controlling the mic next week. I've decided.
All right. You want to get into it here?
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of things going on. I write things down on my notepad. It's all very confusing.
And
I
then you
don't.
forget to. Did you bookmark the stories that you wanted to talk about, or what? What did you do?
Well, I wrote them down and I scribbled here, but
Oh,
some of these things I just don't want to start talking about early on. Let's do a quick hitter.
okay.
Who's the guy? What's his name? Jeffrey Owens from a different world? Not a different world. Cosby Show.
Yeah, the Cosby Show.
Yeah, Superfan Melissa wanted us to close the loop. I'm sure everybody knows the man's got multiple jobs from after the people tried to call him out for working at the grocery line and Trader Joe's.
Right.
He's actually going to be on one of your favorite shows. What is it, The
Tyler
Have Nots?
Perry's The Haves and the Have-Nots.
Is that show like a dynasty show?
It's like a. I don't want to say ghetto. It's like
Is it
more
like
like a
Empire?
Melrose Place.
Melrose Place? Like
It's
Empire? Is it Empire?
no, it's not. The budget isn't as big as Empire. It's like a low rent dynasty. If
Oh,
Dynasty was low rent, it would be like that. It's
oh,
more like Melrose Place because of the budget limitations.
oh. Okay. Oh, that reminds me. I've also finished watching the BBC. Do you remember the BBC?
Like the British Broadcasting Company?
No, the Billionaire Boys Club.
No, I didn't even know it was. Oh, is that the movie with Kevin Spacey?
Yes,
That's out on disc already?
yes, with your
Oh,
boy Taron Egerton.
right,
Didn't do
right.
well, obviously.
So you're watching the movie that Kevin Spacey basically was like the last hurrah for Kevin Spacey.
I don't really look at it, but I kind of just I was turning on because one, do you remember the BBC from the 80s with Judd Nelson?
Was it a show or a
It
movie?
was a miniseries.
No, I don't remember it.
It was one of my favorite miniseries back then. Billionaire Boys Club starring Judd Nelson. He played the lead role of Joe Hunt. Some kids who obviously are from wealth that end up like committing a murder based on a true life story. And I just was fascinated by it. I thought it was such a cool story, a miniseries. And so this was a movie, obviously starring Kevin Spacey and what am I pronouncing his name right? Taron Egerton.
That's correct.
He's in it, but the movie was horrible. After watching the miniseries, I think it just adds a lot more richer details, and the movie just cut out all the details that made the miniseries great. It was just a 2 hour, just like flash in the pan, move from one scene to the next scene, and you're just like, so how did they go from being trying to do something good to committing murder? Like It was
Why
a
did you
terrible
want
movie.
to watch this movie? Is this because of the affinity you have for the original miniseries,
That's
or
exactly what it
because it
is.
turned up in your Netflix
No, no,
queue?
because love the miniseries. It's
Okay.
got that 80s goodness, Judd Nelson chewing up the scenery. It's just great. Whenever that miniseries is, well, I don't think they really put it on that often. This was going to be a chance for me to revisit it. And what's interesting, the character that played, like Judd Nelson's character, the guy that played him, I just didn't think he can act, and he played him completely different than the first iteration by Judd Nelson. Judd Nelson was very engaging, driving the force, and this character was a little bit more weak and can be manipulated. And I was just like, how this is completely two different opposite takes on the character. I was turned off by the latter.
Is that the
And
only thing that turned you off? The whole fact that Kevin Spacey was running around, probably feeling up people on set, didn't bother you?
are those just allegations? Bill, do we have any proof?
No, I don't have any proof. I suppose you're right.
I didn't that doesn't affect my viewing. I mean, if Bill Cosby is going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy, you're not going to turn it off.
No, well, he's not unless they film it from a jail cell. So,
Right. He's going to be set in soon. That'll be in episode 75. We can run that past Nadia, get her thoughts on the cause in jail.
wow.
But anyway, it started
I
me
think he
thinking
gets
about
sentenced this week.
other miniseries.
Yeah.
Do you remember Lace?
Yes, I do. I was just going to say that Lace was more my style than Billionaires Boys Club was.
Lace was a
Um,
great
you
miniseries. I mean,
watch Lace with Phoebe Cates?
oh, that show was. I told Chris about that last night because she watched a little bit of the BBC, and unfortunately, I hate when she sits down and watch some of this because it's just like watching crap. And I think she looks at it like you're watching crap, and I'm like, I know it's crap, and
Do you
you
think
know,
she loses respect for your movie taste when you make her watch
well,
garbage?
yeah, 'cause, I wanted her to know that like I know it's not good. This is don't judge me for this when I was
Huh.
expecting better. But Lace, I she doesn't remember Lace, but
Which one of
Hollywood.
you bitches is my mother? Who could ever forget that? That was like the line of the year.
Is that what it was? Because Phoebe
Yes.
Cates was coming back. She ended
And
up being like some sort of stripper hooker type of
her
thing.
mother gave her away for adoption, and she came back, and there was a mystery. The whole show was about like which one
Which
of these
one?
three women who were like friends or whatever was her actual mother.
Right,
And
because
she got them all in a room,
uh-huh.
and she just said, "Okay, let's just get to the point. Which one of you bitches is my mother?" It's a great
And it,
line.
and it ended up being the dark-haired lady, shockingly enough. So I
Yeah, I
guess,
don't remember.
yeah, it
I
was.
remember. Do you remember Hollywood Wives? Because if you watch Lace, you would have loved Hollywood Wives.
No, I did not watch Hollywood.
Hollywood Wives it was one of those Aaron Spelling. It was like a major blockbuster book, and they got the TV rights to it, and ABC made a miniseries out of it, right around the same era as Lace came out. That was when the TV miniseries was like a big deal. Um, and I did a book report on it. I was in 5th grade. I did the book report for Mr. Mancini on Hollywood Wives, and it was like an adult themed book. There's like a whole lot of like sex and debauchery in it. It was totally inappropriate for me to be reading it in a Catholic school in 5th grade, is the point I'm trying to make. And so when I wrote the book report, Mr. Mancini gave me an F for it because he said I shouldn't have been reading that book.
Are you?
Yes. Yeah, it was like a Jackie Collins novel, I think.
What were you writing about then? What were you
Well, I
like?
just wrote, I mean, but the subject matter was like kind of like rated R subject matter. And I don't think I wrote, actually what was actually happening. I'm sure I glossed over it, but he just thought that was just totally inappropriate for me to write a book report on. I mean, the fact that I read anything at all, he should have been grateful for, but Hollywood Wives wasn't what he thought of when he asked me to do a book
Oh,
report,
they were probably talking about your ass in the teacher break.
I
Like,
guess.
this is what we get for letting black people into this school. Look at what they're reading.
I don't know. All I know is I had to do it over because I got an F. So
So
I
what
don't
are
remember what I wrote over. I don't remember what I rewrote or reread.
you talk about like exercising poor judgment? You're like, yeah, I'll do Hollywood Wives. That sounds like a wonderful thing for me
I
to
thought
do.
it was kind of hip and like I thought I was kind of with it because it was kind of the moment at the time. And Mr. Mancini thought otherwise. So
Now that we're down this rabbit hole here, I'm thinking I'm looking at the best like TV minis. Well, I've just looked up TV miniseries from the 80s. Um,
Shogun,
Shogun. You're right about that.
the
I mean,
Thornbirds,
what's that?
the Thornbirds,
I never watched the Thornbirds. That seemed like too much for me.
Roots.
Um, but the Shogun. Did you watch Shogun?
I did not because it didn't have enough sex and violence in it for me. So I
What are
was
you
like,
talking about? They chopped off heads in there. The
oh
samurais were.
well. Let me put it this way: it didn't have enough sex in it for me then. So
But
you know,
Shogun was good. How about V? Did you watch V?
of course I watched V, but it doesn't hold up well. If you ever try to go back and watch it again, it looks dated as fuck.
Oh, was that Mark Singer that was in there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mark Beastmaster. Yeah,
Beastmaster. Does it look? I think I did try to go back and watch V.
it's not
Um,
good. It's not easy.
it looks bad, but the concept in and of itself is still so cool for me, especially when like they would have the aliens like eat the rats on the side, or you
Right.
know,
What was the evil one's name?
oh, I
The
can't
evil
remember.
lady with the
Oh,
curly
I can't.
hair. I can't
Were they
remember.
trying to do? Did they do a remake of V?
They did. It was a ABC show about 5 years ago.
And what happened with that? I'm sure we tried it. Did we try it?
No, can you say ratings poison? Therefore, it didn't survive long.
Oh, Bill, I see your 80s show Hollywood Wives on here.
Yeah,
1985.
yeah.
Somehow that. What about Shaka Zulu? Is that
No, no.
for the people out there? Shaka Zulu is a great miniseries.
African King.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great TV series. I
When
don't
did
I don't
Roots
know.
come out? In the 70s?
What's that?
Roots?
Roots? Yeah, I think that's the 70s, Bill. So do you think they still do miniseries nowadays? Does that happen? Or is that
No.
what we're watching now, like on Netflix, those shows like that, like Band of Brothers? Are those the modern day
I mean,
miniseries?
HBO still sort of does limited series. I don't know that the TV movie miniseries is kind of like gone the way of the dodo. The last one was like that gay one, When We Rise, which we didn't even watch. So
Oh
that was
yeah,
like
you
2 or 3
mentioned that
years
one
ago.
too. That didn't
Yeah.
really get a lot of press though, did it?
No, it didn't. So seems
So
a little
nobody really
political.
has time for TV miniseries anymore. Then is that
Well, I
what it
don't think
is?
the TV networks really have money for that kind of budget anymore. I mean, that's kind of like out of their league now. Now that's like a cable thing
Huh?
because
Huh.
ratings are down.
Huh. Did you ended up watching Lace 2, by the way?
I think I started it, but I sort of lost interest in it in the middle way through because it wasn't as good as Lace One.
Is that where she was looking for her father, maybe at
I
that
think,
point?
yeah, that's probably it. And I was like, who gives a shit about her father? I just want to know about her mom. So,
I may have to watch the trailer for that. I forgot it was Phoebe Cates. All right, let's move on. Here, let's get your blood pressure. Let's get your mojo up here. Get your energy happening. What's the deal with Henry Cavill? What's going on with him? Is he going to be
um,
Superman? Is he not going to be Superman? Is he going to be wearing the cape? Is he going to be flying? Or is he going to be grounded doing the Witcher role? Which, by the way, I play that video game. And for a lot of people, they don't know who the Witcher is, but I do. And I'm looking forward to having him starring in the role.
the news was reported by Hollywood Reporter, which is a very reputable trade industry Bible, like Variety, Hollywood Reporter. Those people, as we've already talked about with like fake news and stuff, usually can be counted on to have a modicum of truth to their stories. And they reported about a week ago, maybe longer, that Henry Cavill is out as Superman at Warner Brothers, that Warner Brothers is not going to make another Superman movie or a Man of Steel movie or what have you in the DCEU, and that they're concentrating on a Supergirl franchise instead. Then, after that news was reported, Henry Cavill's agent came out and said on Twitter for people to calm down, that the cape was still in his closet, and that he had every intention of continuing on as Superman. And then Warner Brothers released an official statement after that, in which they said, while we do not have any current plans for a Superman movie, we value our relationship with Henry Cavill and we always will. Not much of a denial of the story that he's leaving, not much for people to get their hopes pinned upon. So here's what my educated guess is.
Now, before you go with your educated guess, when you first heard this news break, you were hot.
I'm
You
not
were
happy
fired.
about it still.
Okay. All right.
I'm still not happy about it, but it seems somewhat nebulous as to what actually it means. Like, does it mean that they are replacing Henry Cavill? Well, they say no because they don't have any Superman movies ready to go. So it's not like he's getting recast. Um, Now, mind you, they've had since 2013, which was when Man of Steel came out. I mean, you could count Batman versus Superman, I guess, as a quasi sequel to Man of Steel. And then, of course, you could count Justice League. But if you're just talking Superman solo movies, they've had since 2013 to get out a Man of Steel 2, a proper Superman sequel. And they have seemed to be in no rush to do so. So, why they're not doing another Superman movie is beyond me. I don't know why they think they can have a cinematic universe without Superman in it and still keep people interested. Um, but
It seems like they're doing everything else to
right,
avoid doing a Man of Steel 2 movie.
right. Which, you know, if you look at the numbers, doesn't necessarily seem to follow any kind of like logic that I can understand because Man of Steel did decent money. I mean, it certainly did better than Superman Returns. Um, but you know, that's been on a downward trajectory financially wise since Man of Steel, if you count BVS, which didn't make as much money as they wanted, and Justice League, which didn't make as much money as they wanted. So, you know, I guess they're choosing to concentrate on other areas, but I still think it's a mistake for them to eliminate Superman from their universe. That just seems harebrained to me. And it's like you said, they're doing everything but a Superman movie. We've got a Supergirl movie in development now. We've got the Batman with Matt Reeves directing, and God only knows who's going to be playing Batman because it seems like Ben Affleck's in and out every other day. Um, Suicide Squad 2, Birds of Prey, the Joker standalone movie, which is filming currently, Shazam, all of these other movies except Superman. So I don't really know what they're doing. If they do continue to pursue a cinematic universe of any kind without a Superman in it, though, I just feel it's just a fool's errand. I quite frankly feel that's just stupid, period.
You know, this is the time where it seems like they've gone through different people trying to lead DC to the promised land, which is where Marvel is at. And now more than ever, they seem fractured in terms of direction or how this is going to work. Like there's no cohesion to it at this point in time. You know,
Well, they keep
um,
talking about the evolution of DCEU. If I can find the quote, I will read you the quote that they were talking about this week in their press release. Um,
the evolution to be able to do these little side projects and still somehow bring it all together.
the ever evolving DCEU is what I think we are officially going to start calling it now because I don't know what they're doing over there.
That sounds like a public relations term that they're trying to sit there and say, yeah, like it looks like a mess, but it's not really a mess. Right. It's all by design.
Right.
Um,
I don't know if they're saying it's by design. I think they're saying more like it's they're not really sure. I think is what they're saying. Uh, you know, this whole we're going to go with the director's vision is one thing, and then hold on.
Commissioner Gordon is a badass.
Well, that's
Some
just
people are a little bit more.
you ever go to websites and they just start playing shit
yeah,
videos like automatically? It's so irritating.
sure.
Okay, so here's the Warner Brothers statement. While no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films, we've always had a great respect for and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged. Um, that was the statement they made. Doesn't exactly sound like they're going to be putting a Superman movie in.
We both agree that the track that they are on currently and where they seem to be headed, I for one, let me just speak for myself. I don't find this to be a profitable direction. I mean, this is not like the Mummy Dark Universe. It's dead before it arrives, but I just think that they're heading in the wrong direction. And um,
Do
and
you
it's
think that because of Shazam, or do you think that because of Aquaman? Do you think that because of Henry Cavill possibly not returning? What exactly are you thinking that for?
Henry Cavill not returning, the poor sales of Justice League, and as a result of that, now they feel the need to have to change direction because you said if they don't make the money, then we got to do something different. And now they're not. To me, it doesn't seem like they know what to do. They know that they have some sort of a money-making property in Wonder Woman, so they have to keep Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins in the fold and make like two more of those movies. They can only hope that Aquaman and Shazam and eventually Flash make some money, but it still puts them in the quandary because you don't necessarily have Ben Affleck as Batman and you won't have Henry Cavill as Superman. Then, if you chose to bring them back together, you'd be bringing them back with different actors, which can create some confusion. I don't think maybe you can change it all around, but it just doesn't seem to mesh. Because
Here's what I think is
like
going to
we were
happen.
arguing with you the one time, Chris Evans was signed to like a 7 pitcher deal or something.
9.
9, and now all of a sudden you have some actors, and then you're going to be going to somebody else. It doesn't fit all together as nicely as you want it to be, and it seems like what I hate to say it, everything seems to hinge on one movie. Like if it doesn't go well for Justice League, then it affects everything else. You know, you can't have a low selling movie because then it changes the direction for every other movie for them or what they plan on doing. And um,
Here's what I honestly
because
think.
I'm sorry, keep that thought. Because if Ant Man and Wasp Part Two would have made, I can't pull the numbers up right now. Instead of like 700 million, if it would only made 350 million, when Marvel had sat there and go, we have to change everything now. So instead of Captain Marvel, we're going to scrap that and we're going to just focus on this character. I think they would sit there and not. We have to shake up everything. This one didn't hit for us, but we'll still stay on the same path and continue from there. It doesn't work that way for DC. But go ahead.
I think it's an unfair comparison to compare the where DC is at in their current movie universe to where Marvel is at, because Marvel had a 17 movie or 15 movie, whatever, at the time Man of Steel came out, 13 movie lead over DC. So Marvel is on a much more sturdy, steady ground because they already had blockbuster franchises that they could have continued, whether one of their ancillary properties failed or not.
We'll never
So,
know the answer to this question, but 5 or 6 movies in, if Marvel would have had a little bit of a low selling film,
well, let's take their weakest link, The Incredible Hulk. You don't see an Incredible Hulk sequel. That's one movie you don't see number 2 or 3 coming from.
but do
And
we
they
know that somehow the fact that Incredible Hulk did not do well and we don't have any sequels to that, did that change the direction of all the other franchises or what they were going to do?
no, but you
Because
can
that
say
did
it
not
changed.
hit.
No, but you can say it changed the direction for the character of the Hulk. For example, if Hulk would have been more of a financial success, you can bet your ass there would have been a Hulk 2 and a Hulk 3, and whatever happened in Avengers with Hulk, either White would have, probably enhanced, but wouldn't have been the only iteration you saw of Hulk. But or what if Edward Norton hadn't have been recast? I mean, there's all these could have, would have, should have's going on, but I do think that the failure of the Hulk to make the box office moolah that they wanted it to make did make them alter the direction of the plans that they had for the Hulk character.
Okay.
So taking that in mind, what I think is going to happen with DC and Man of Steel or Henry Cavill is I think they're going to take a Hulk approach to it. I think they're going to put him as like a cameo or a guest star or some kind of minor role in some of their upcoming movies. I know he was supposed to be in Shazam. They're claiming that because of scheduling, he wasn't able to do his cameo for Shazam. We'll see. I still kind of think that that is going to happen. I think they're pulling like bullshit over people's eyes to sort of surprise people. I really hope he does end up in Shazam for whatever part they've put him in there for, because I do want these films to be, tied together to the other 5 that came out. But I think like in Supergirl, for example, I can see him playing like, a smaller part in that movie. And I think that they're going to keep him around, but not make him a focus for a while until they can figure out what to do to make it what people want. I hope that's the best case scenario in my mind. From the news that we got, that's the best I can see coming out of it. And I would prefer them to do that than obviously not have him in it at all. I think Henry Cavill physically is the perfection, personification, whatever, of Superman. I think acting-wise, he's certainly grown over the course of the 3 or 4 movies that he was in, from Man of Steel through Justice League. And I was looking forward to seeing him play more in that toy box, the DC Superman toy box. But am I upset that it might not? Yeah, I'm really, really upset about it because I don't want there to be another Superman. I want to see more from this Superman. I just don't know that the whole we're getting rid of him is actually factual. I just don't know if that's really real. Because Henry Cavill, then, the day after the news came out and the day after all this stuff with Hollywood Reporter and his agent and Warner Brothers statement came out, Henry Cavill went on Instagram and posted a short video of himself holding a Superman action figure that was based on his likeness. Now, either he was trolling people or, there's more to the story than just what we've heard. And given Henry Cavill's reaction to it, I think there's more to the story.
Listen, doesn't the man want to be paid? Isn't that part of the storyline?
Sure, but if they officially fire, and let's put it another way also, Warner Brothers has not issued an official statement saying, we wish Henry Cavill luck in all his future endeavors, but he's no longer our Superman. Now, they might not ever do that, even if they choose not to return him to the screen.
Does it make sense for them to do it? Because then all of a sudden there'll be a whole bunch of negativity coming up towards them regarding their whole universe.
That's happening anyway. You should see the tweets I've read about people being upset about Henry Cavill possibly not coming back. But, I just don't know. I think it's all sort of weird and a little bit nebulous. I wish if they weren't going to have him come back, they'd just come out and rip the Band-Aid off and say it's over. But again, I'm going to hold out my little candle of hope and hope that this is going to be something that isn't going to happen.
Did you see, moving on, did you see the picture of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker?
There's dozens of pictures of him, actually, and I have seen a few of them. They seem to be from a movie studio that usually thrives with these particular films on secrecy and keeping things under wraps. They certainly seem to be flaunting a lot of him out there in like open public spaces, which I guess could be part of the filming, but they don't really seem to be trying to keep it under super secrecy.
We talked about this. Are you more or less excited about this stripped down origin story of the Joker played by Joaquin Phoenix?
I'm not excited about it. To be honest with you, I'm not. I would prefer them to do something tied into the Joker they just established 2 years ago with Jared Leto, whatever you want to call it. And I thought the Suicide Squad Joker was really an interesting character, and the fact that he had that wacko ass relationship with Harley Quinn, I'd like to see a Joker Harley Quinn solo movie before I'd like to see a Joker origin story with a completely different Joker. I think it's confusing to lay people in the audience that don't follow these things as closely as we do. I know it's not going to be in the same continuity as the DCEU, so it's supposed to be Elseworlds or whatever DC's alternate reality is. But they've barely established their one reality, and now we're going to swing off into a whole other reality with characters that are the same characters but are played by different actors in a different story. It's confusing. I don't know if I'm down with this idea.
I'm not a fan of the Jared Leto Suicide Squad Joker at all. If I had to somehow rank him with the Jack um,
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, um, Jared Leto is probably one of my least favorites, to be quite honest with you. But in terms of where we're going about Joaquin Phoenix, I just can't say that I'm excited either, but not for the same reasons as you in terms of like seeing more of Jared Leto. It's just more of I don't know if it's going to be the standard fare of like, I wasn't loved as a child and then I turned to crime and I'm a little bit awkward, but I found it just seems sort of just pedestrian that I've seen this before. And I'd rather just actually watch the Joker doing the Joker stuff and not watching him in regular human form, where the last like 5 minutes he actually puts on like the makeup and starts doing something, and then you got to wait for part two to pick up. I just don't know if I'm really interested in the storyline. Um, and not to mention, where do you go from there? It's really if it were to be a hit, you get what, a couple movies out of it.
I
It
mean,
would
I don't
it,
know.
it would make sense if somehow you could team that up of the Joaquin Phoenix and then with the Matt Reeves Batman. That makes more sense to kind of combine those where those two would meet. Maybe that could happen. Uh, but in terms of the makeup, it looks like a stripped down indie film character study Joker. That's what it looks like.
It looks like art house Joker, and if that's what they
Yes.
want,
Yeah. There you go.
then I mean, it's okay, I guess, that it exists. I'm not trying to say that I think it should be drummed out of existence. But again, I think it's confusing for audiences, general audiences, and which is who I suppose they must be aiming this movie at because I mean, I don't know if there's that many people that are into an art house Joker. I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. So moving on, did you see that Warner Brothers is becoming the first Hollywood studio to adopt a diversity and inclusion policy?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
Listen, it's anytime that they decide to do it on their own and it's not forced upon them by some kind of like law or something is better for me than if somebody said you have to have X amount by law in the
well,
cast.
this is what this says. Warner Media, the parent company of Warner Brothers, announced a company-wide commitment to greater inclusion of women, people of color, the LGBTQ community, those with disabilities, and other underrepresented groups in all of its projects going forward. Um, it also points out here that Warner Media's actions goes beyond simply adopting an inclusion rider to making explicit the company's commitment to diversity and inclusion business wide. It would be ideal if in the future inclusion riders were obsolete because studios and other entertainment companies had achieved greater diversity in all of their projects through a strategic like Warner Media's. The new policy does not include specifics, but rather states that, quote, in the early stages of the production process, we will engage with our writers, producers, and directors to create a plan for implementing this commitment to diversity and inclusion on our projects with the goal of providing opportunities for individuals from underrepresented groups at all levels.
Quota.
No, I don't think it's a quota.
Um,
The person head of it said he acknowledged the risk of quotas, but noted that inclusion riders can withstand scrutiny if they are flexible and avoid rigidity, and that they're still hiring the best people possible for the job, but they're actually just like considering people they normally don't consider.
but this confuses me.
How
If
does that
it's
confuse you?
if it's for the best person for the job, then why weren't the people being considered in the first place if they
No, that's
were?
the whole idea of that somehow it's underrepresented because sometimes the people just don't do that. They're sitting there going like, well, the best person for this job, I already made up my mind as to what it is, and we were not going to even look at other people.
So let's say Jimmy Joe and Laquan come in for an interview to be the director of Man of Steel 2, because by some miracle, they've realized their mistake and they're going to go ahead and greenlight a Man of Steel 2. Okay. On paper, they both have Oscar nominations. They both have gone to film school. They've both directed smaller pictures. They've both done TV work. So it's between Jimmy Joe and Laquan. How do we decide then? Are we going to use the inclusion policy and pick Laquan?
No, see, I think where you're getting lost on this is the whole idea that Laquan's not being considered at all. Okay, the whole idea is getting the people in the door. You're not giving the people a job just based on the fact that they have a disability or they're LGBT. Is they're not even being let into the room, Bill, to be considered. If you watch like football with the head coaches, okay, National Football League, which I have on the background, let's just say like 85% of the players are all black. Okay,
That's
all the
because
head
they're good
coaches,
at sports.
yes, all the head coaches are white. They have black assistant coaches, but every time they hire a head coach, he was always white. In terms of that, in a sport that predominantly is inclusive of like people of color, then how come they're not being considered for higher positions? They were never even being allowed into the room. Not that somehow they were incompetent or not able to do the job, they just weren't considered. And it's not like somebody wrote down a policy that said don't consider black people. It's just that it just doesn't the way it always has been. We've always had this. We've
So if it
always
comes down to
so
two
the whole
people,
idea is that it becomes somehow almost systemic to where you're not even thinking about it. You're just like, this is what we do. What's the issue? We just do what we do, and all of a sudden Laquan never comes into the door because you're just like, what? What? I'm not. I didn't say Laquan couldn't, but you're not allowing Laquan to come in. So
okay,
the
so
whole
let's
point, the
say,
whole point is you're just bringing people into the room, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I didn't know. Maybe we should go with Laquan. This is good.
okay,
That's
so
all it
let's say
is. You
Laquan
keep acting like
gets in
somehow
the
that
room.
we'll get into a room that says, well, okay, we have to pick the person. I don't think anybody's saying you have to, but all of a sudden, if you find out there's like 50 makeup artists and you're like not even considering some of the makeup artists on Empire, why are you not considering them?
So Laquan gets the inclusion policy gets Laquan in the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So on paper, how far does this go? Does the inclusion policy get him in the room and give him an edge for the job because he's got the same qualifications as Jimmy Joe? Or how
Bill,
do
it's
you
not. It
decide?
doesn't become a quota. It just becomes in that you come in, and then all of a sudden you offer something different to the table that maybe somebody didn't consider, and then they sit there and goes back to it. Okay. I don't think anybody's saying you have to hire anyone. I don't think anybody wants to hear you have to hire someone. The whole idea is you're not even considering the people, Bill. I mean, that's the idea behind Oscars So White. It's kind of like if you're still nominating, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and you haven't even watched Moonlight or other, let's just say these other films, then it's not like you're saying like I'm not discriminating against them, but you never even watched them. Maybe you should watch them and then decide whether or not you think they should be considered. And then you could go like this, well, I watched them and I did not like them. That's fine. The whole idea is you're not even watching them. You're not considering it. You know, I'm just bringing out 5 different plates of food for you. You can still eat your hamburger and fries, but you might want to try my chicken and waffles. Is that a problem?
And
If
when
I
I
put
eat your chicken and waffles and I
and you
decide I don't like the chicken and waffles, is that going
you
to be
don't like
okay
it.
with you?
You don't like it. Yes. That's exactly right.
So when
But
Laquan doesn't
I
get
don't
the
know
job,
why there's such an aversion to finally like having people come in and sit there and go. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole times a bunch of people that happen, like not in terms of diversity, if you will, where people come into the room where you had like Harrison Ford and Burt Reynolds and Brad Pitt, and all of a sudden you're like, we were going for Brad Pitt, but then some other young actor comes in and blows them away and you go with a Taron Egerton. It happens all the time where you think you're going one way and then somebody comes in and blow it away. All it is, you're just asking to consider more people. It happens all the time. This is who we thought we were going to go with, and then this person came in and read, and they blew us away. So we're no longer going with that person. We're going with this person. I'm sure there's a lot of actors, let's just say white actors, that got their start that way, where they were going a different direction. They're like, no, we're not. It happens all the time, I bet. I don't see what's wrong with expanding the net.
Where does it stop? Is my question.
What do you mean? Where does it stop?
Where does it stop? If the inclusion policy gets you in the room, who's to say it's not going to get you the job? And is that
And
okay?
you somehow acting like somehow if the person gets the job, then you just assume it's just because of
Of the
their
inclusion
the-
policy. I'm saying that's a possible outcome. I'm not saying that's guaranteed to happen, but I'm
Well,
saying
you're acting like somehow if they actually get the job, you're telling me if Michael B. Jordan comes in to read for the set of a new movie that's being directed by Patty Jenkins and he gets the job, the only reason why he gets the job is because he's black? Is that what
I'm
you're telling
saying
me?
the inclusion
Idris Elba
policy
comes in,
creates that problem. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The inclusion policy, a policy of any kind like that, creates the potential for it to be abused. Yes, I do.
how is
Believe
that? What's being abused? What is?
It's the same
Is
thing
it not
as
abused that the people are not being considered? What's the opposite of that? That the people are
it's
not
the
being considered. You don't
same.
see that? Wait. You don't consider it abusive for the people not to be considered to be invited into the room?
I don't know that that's a thing that
What are you talking about? Are you been blind with the Oscars so white and everything else that's been going on of not being considered for anything? See, you don't look at it like that's abusive. You think that's just normal. Like, of course. The reason they're not there is because they're just not doing good stuff. Is that what it is?
I'm saying I don't agree with them making a quote. It feels like a quota to me. That's all I'm telling you. It feels like quotas to me. I don't like it. I don't like the whole affirmative action thing. I think it makes
Well,
muddy
nobody
the
said this was
waters.
affirmative action.
But it
Nobody
sounds
said
like it.
if the guy says it's no quota, what's the problem with that? Warner Brothers is a company, it's a billion-dollar company. They're sitting there going, we want to make it more diverse. We want to consider other people that seem to be underrepresented. We
Where
wanted
does
to
it
make
stop?
it
When
broader.
when they say we're going to get the person in the room, then if they have the same qualifications on a sheet of paper as another person who's in the room but doesn't have a equality policy to back them up, then who's going to get the job and how is that fair?
What are you
Because if
talking? It's with any other job, Bill. If Angelina Jolie walks into a room with Jennifer Aniston and Phoebe Cates and Megan Fox, and they're all sitting in the room, and they all have done the same number of movies and all went to the same acting school. Which one do you pick? You sit there and you talk to them all. And you go, you know what? Angelina seems like a bitch. You know what? Jennifer Aniston seems kind of nice.
is there a
And
we have
wait.
to
Let me
hire
finish. Let me finish. And then Phoebe Cates goes, you know what? Phoebe Cates, you know what? My wife likes Phoebe Cates. You know what? I think we're going to go with Phoebe Cates because we don't have to necessarily pay her as much and she seems nicer to work with. You act like somehow this is unusual when you have them all in the room, that the only way that people see them is through color. And so sitting there going, you have Idris Elba, Matt McConaughey, Michael B. Jordan, and Brad Pitt. They all can act. They all seem to be able to pull in some box office. Which one do you pick? Maybe Idris is in there acting like a jerk, and you're sitting there going, well, I'm the director. Idris seems like a jerk. I don't want to work with Idris. You know what? Brad Pitt seems to be having some family trouble. He seems to be high maintenance. Fuck it. I don't want to work with him. Michael B. Jordan seems kind of cool. I might want to have a beer with him. I'm going to select Michael B. Jordan. You're acting like somehow the people get confused as to who they want to work with and that they can't hire. I mean, it's almost acting like somehow because they're in the room, I have to pick them. You still have the choice of picking the person, whether you like them or not, and how much you want to pay them or don't want to pay them.
I don't believe that's true. I just don't. I believe a policy makes it not okay for you to pick who you want. The studio is always going to come back to you and say
Ugh.
the policy is diversity and inclusion. And if you've got a white person for this job and a black person for this job, well, then if you're going with our policy and we need more black people in here or more gay and lesbian people in here or more Asian people in here, then I'm going to suggest to you, and I'm not going to tell you, but I'm going to wink at you and go, you need to pick the one that goes in line with our new policy. I've said my piece. That's what's going to happen.
Is there any point in time where a person that can be selected could actually be really good for the job?
Sure, but the
So
policy's
let me
always
let me
going to
let,
come
let me
first.
let me get this straight. Like, what's her name? Shonda Rhimes, writer.
Right.
Okay, so when Shonda Rhimes goes to a Warner Brothers show because they're going to be writing a new script for a TV movie, and Shonda Rhimes shows up and she gets the job, we assume that the only reason why Shonda Rhimes gets the job is because of the inclusion policy.
I'm
I mean,
telling
that's what you're
you,
telling me. Wait. We have another writer in here. We'll call him Betty Smith. Call her Betty Smith. She's white. And then Shonda Rhimes comes in, and you're telling me when Shonda Rhimes gets the job offer, it's only because it's the inclusion policy because, wink, wink, she's black and, we want to fill the quota. It's not because of her talent or skills.
I'm telling you, the
Oh,
chances.
wait, you're not answering the question. Is Shonda Rhimes only getting the job because she's black?
No, she's getting the job because she's Shonda fucking Rhimes, and she's got
What
20
is
years.
because of her talent? Is it because of her talent?
Yeah. Can you calm down?
Well, I'm just asking. You're acting
You're
like
yelling
somehow
at me.
there's nobody that's
yelling.
talented. Is there anybody talented of color that can get the job based on their talent, Bill?
Yes.
Can
Is there-
John Boyega, who you like, can he get a job based on his talent, or is it only going to be because of the inclusion policy?
Okay.
I'm just asking a question.
I'm going to answer this next part of the question, and then we're going to move on because now I'm tired of talking about this.
Oh
Okay?
yeah, we're going to talk about this off air. You bet your ass.
That's fine. What was the next part of the question?
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega gets the job because he's John Boyega and he was good in the other movies they put him in.
I believe when we had this argument, I sat there and goes, the only reason why John Boyega got the job for Force Awakens is because he was just black. And you told me, no, they selected the best person for the job. I think that's
Right.
what you.
But there was no policy that made that we know of anyway that made J.J. Abrams select him for the part. There's nothing on paper that says John Boyega gets this part because we have an inclusion policy that we need to have X amount of whatever that number is, minorities in our payroll.
But the
whatever.
exclusion policy, we're wrapping this up here for the people getting tired of us bitch and moan on this. The exclusion policy indicates that it's not. So you just don't buy it then. You says that we don't have a quota on there. Warner Brothers is not saying they have a quota. They're just saying we need to open it up to make sure that we include more things. When we sit there and go like this, we're going to have some food trucks show up. The only food trucks that ever show up are Wendy's and McDonald's. Okay, well, we need to open this up more. Okay, so they have Chipotle, and then they have some Italian pizza show up, and then they have Subway show up, and then they have Soul Food Kitchen, then they have Gyros and Greek food show up. You're acting like somehow when they all show up, we're only going to go with McDonald's. Okay, we don't even want to consider Wendy's or this Greek food or this Chipotle Mexican stuff.
What happens if everyone in our company?
But the only reason why they selected Chipotle was because it's, quote, diversity. And so we need to select their food because, it's diversity. That's the only reason why we selected Chipotle to begin with.
What happens if everybody who works for the company comes to you and says, everybody here has gastrointestinal issues that work here, and we can't be having Mexican food because it makes everybody get the shits the next day? Well, in our inclusion policy, sir, it says that we have to have a certain amount of Mexicans, cripples, blind people. And by the way, that person who's running the Mexican Chipotle food truck, she's also a lesbian. And in our policy, it says we've got to have at least 2 of these 3 food groups on our payroll. So I'm sorry that you always get the shits, but Chipotle it is.
Well, that sounds like something that might be held against you in a lawsuit when you're sitting there discriminating against other people, Bill. I don't think those conversations will be happening, but that's fine. That's fine. Nobody's forcing you to eat the GI Chipotle, Bill. Nobody's forcing you to eat that. But when we come up here to go to restaurants, what do? You sit there and go, if I looked at you and said, Bill, the only place I'm going to is Chipotle. Okay, I've always gone to Chipotle. I go to Chipotle all the time. And what do you say? Is there anything else we can consider? And what do I say? No, we can only consider Chipotle, Bill. And you're like, well, can we try some different place? Can we try out Zoop? Can we try out this? And I go, no, Bill. There's no apparent reason for me not trying out. It's because I don't want to try it out, Bill. Now, if I went to Zoop, I may come out of Zoop and go like this. You know what? That food is damn tasty. Thank you for bringing me here. I would have never gone into this place and tried their food out, but for you forcing me to try it out, and it's damn good. Or I might have the reaction and go, that food sucks. I don't want to eat there. I don't like their food. I'm not going to eat it. And you go, well, all you did was try it out. That's all I could ask is you tried it out. If you don't like it, you don't like it. We don't have to go there again. But next time, can we go up? There's another restaurant down the street. Can we go try that out? You're acting like somehow trying it out is some sort of like forbidden thing. That if you like it, you can't try it. Is there a crime with trying it?
What
I
I'm
don't
saying
know.
is, I don't know if there needs to be some kind of written rule about it. Whether you decide to try it or not on your own is a different story than whether you have a piece of paper or a policy that says,
Bill,
up
if
here in
people were
Cleveland, we
people,
have to go to Chipotle.
unfortunately, if people were doing everything they were supposed to be doing, we wouldn't have to have all the rules. But we have to have rules like do not kill because people still kill, Bill. Do not steal because people still steal. You have a whole bunch of rules at your office. Why? Because the people need to be told the basics bullshit. They don't learn the shit. I mean, what the fuck? You got to have the rules, Bill. Unfortunately, that's the way the society is run. We would like it to be better, but it's not. And Warner Brothers seems to understand that, and they're taking action. I
It,
like it.
it's fine. I guess it's fine.
This is why you're a Tom, and this is why you won't be running the company. This is
I'm a what? Say that again. I'm a who? I know you didn't just call me Uncle Tom.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy from Django that was played by Samuel Jackson?
Yeah, I don't remember the character's name.
I'm going to look him up. That's who you are.
Uh-huh.
Burt Reynolds passed. Did we discuss that?
No, he's dead. Let's move on.
Do you want to say a favorite Burt Reynolds movie?
I mean, honestly, Burt Reynolds hasn't really been super relevant for like, I don't know, 30 years. I mean, what's the last Burt Reynolds movie you saw in a theater?
In a theater, I don't think I've ever saw a Burt Reynolds movie in the
Oh,
theater.
come on. You didn't go see Smokey and the Bandit when you were a kid?
I saw it on cable, like Movie Channel.
Okay.
I saw The Last Movie Star. I think I mentioned.
Well, I think this is his last movie. Was it any good?
Yeah, he played a cranky old movie star who was receiving an award from a bunch of geeks. It's like us giving out the Popular Cinema podcast to the best actor, and then he shows up to our festival, which only includes me, you, and about 4 other people, and he says, "You guys are all idiots, and you're a bunch of nerds and losers." And we're just like, well, we're just trying to honor your oeuvre. And
Sounds like a
eventually-
George Lucas thing, like a
And-
take on George Lucas, maybe.
and eventually he sits there and comes around and he thanks the people for celebrating and everything else his movies throughout the year, and he made a jerk of himself. No, it wasn't bad. I could have done without it. Smokey and the Bandit.
I mean, it's interesting that they call him the last movie star, and he was in a movie called The Last Movie Star. I mean, I don't know. Unfortunately, time catches up with all of us, right?
yeah,
He was 80-something years old.
I mean, he was when we started watching movies. I mean, I was around. Deliverance is in the 70s. I just saw that later on. But Smokey and the Bandit was right around the time I was firing up the movie channel. But
Right.
after Smokey and the Bandit,
Cannonball Run.
I never got into Cannonball Run.
No?
And then anything else after that was just something I didn't watch.
Best
by
Little
that
Whorehouse in Texas.
didn't get into it.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to pick one movie or two movies from his body of work, it would be Smokey and the Bandit that he's famous for, and probably Deliverance.
Did you see Deliverance?
I did not. It seemed a little mature for my taste.
Yeah.
Isn't it a bunch of like backwoods people that like rape people and stuff?
I think they ended up rating Ned Beatty, and I think the rumor is that Burt Reynolds was like, "I'm not going to be raped."
Well,
now,
at a certain
now
point-
Ned Beatty can be raped, but Burt Reynolds, that's not going to be good for my image. So we will not be raping me in the movie.
Interesting, considering he wasn't really a star by the time that movie was made.
Well, I'm smart enough to know that's not gonna help your shine. But
Oh, and then of course there's the Playboy or Playgirl centerfold that he's well known for.
yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, I mean, it's been quite some time since. I mean, he's, you said it yourself. He looked really kind of emaciated and not well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a short window when I was watching his stuff, and then he was gone, and then doing other little side projects. So, um, anyway, moving on. We need to close the loop on the other thing. How do you feel about the Academy not doing the Best Popular Picture category?
I'm not really pleased about it. I mean, as you know, I was looking forward to the whole category for me to get invested in the Academy Awards again. I mean, I'm like one of those. I'm like a Cleveland Browns football fan who's just sort of waiting and waiting and waiting for a reason to like watch them again. And didn't they just win a football game like this week?
Yeah, they did. Good for you.
So yeah, so there's like a reason for people who are like diehards to like go back and watch them again. I feel like that where it's like I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the Oscars to get like relevant for me, and the announcement that they were going to make a popular category, which means they're going to nominate movies that I actually see, that was exciting for me because that means I can get invested in the Oscars again. And then there was the internet backlash, which the internet ruins everything, and says, we're going to postpone it and reevaluate and think about the category. I don't think it's a bad idea for them to get on firm ground with whatever the rules are going to be for this category or what have you. I think it's not a bad idea for them to take a little more time and make sure that they, examine exactly what they're going to use for qualifications for this, whatever. But it's not going to make me watch this year's Oscars. I can tell you that by them not having it in there.
Yeah, I'd be very curious as to. I'm sure they haven't fully closed the door on it. Feel like
we'll see if we ever hear about it again. I mean, if it's not out by next year, it's probably over.
Yeah, it was like a test balloon. Let's float
Right.
it out there and see what happens, if the people are interested in it. And
I can just tell you this: I am not behind Black Panther getting nominated for Best Picture. If that's going to happen for Best Picture, I'm just not behind it. I'm just not. Are you?
Best Picture, Best Popular Picture?
Nope. Best Picture.
No, but that shouldn't shock you, though. I mean, half the movies you would pick as Best Picture, I would never pick as a Best Picture. So the fact that I don't pick Black Panther is just consistent the way I look at the movies.
It's just absurd.
I enjoy Black Panther, but it's not. I would consider to be out of some of the other movies I've seen. That's not what I would consider to be Best Picture.
In a year,
like I always say with you though, most blockbuster films, and especially superhero films, would never be in a Best Popular Picture for me. There would never be a fucking Solo. There would never be a Force Awakens. There wouldn't be a Rogue One. Those things never strike me as Best Pictures.
I have two words for you.
They're entertainment. Let me finish. They're entertainment, and I can enjoy them on the Friday night. But we're not going there. We're hearing trite dialogue, and we've got a whole bunch of special effects. That's not what I would consider to be high-end acting or high-end writing.
I have two words for you.
What, Titanic?
Infinity War.
If
you're going to nominate Black Panther over in the same category year, the same qualifying year as Infinity War, that seems ridiculous to me.
Well, I mean, are you asking me? Or are you just talking to the general public?
I'm just talking to the general public, but I will go ahead and ask you the question. If you were on the Academy and they presented you
Infinity War,
would you not? Okay, if they said to you,
if you're asking me that, I wouldn't have nominated. I enjoyed Infinity War, and it was a great movie, and I had a lot of fun with it. But then, in terms of like looking at technical acting and writing, those things aren't Best Picture to me.
I'm saying Disney comes to you and says, "These are the two movies we're going to nominate. Which one would you prefer us to nominate, Jay? Infinity War or Black Panther? Which one do you think is a better film?" Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. But we know what the Oscars is. It's a little bit more highbrow. They're not looking for like Fast and Furious bullshit or Transformer stuff. Okay,
Really?
Mark
Because if Black
Wahlberg.
Panther gets a nomination, how is that highbrow?
Oh, I understand that, Bill. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
It would change everything. I would not be down with it. Just the same thing with the time you were arguing for Force Awakens. I wouldn't have been down with that if they would have nominated because it goes against everything that they've been building up for, if you ask me. I mean, that would have pleased you, but that would have been the end. The same thing with nominating Black Panther. It'd be like them nominating Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man and Wasp. I don't care how much fun there is. There's nothing that sits there to be like the technical excellence of the Oscars or the Academy Award. The Ant-Man and Wasp is like any other movie out there. I can pick 15 other movies out there that would sit there and be like, that's just as funny or whatever else. It's supposed to be the excellence. And those movies are fine and entertaining. They can give you some joy, but they don't reach the excellence level, the technical aspect, the acting, or the writing. No. But if you want me to split hairs and pick Infinity War or Black Panther, I would. But they shouldn't be nominated in the Best Picture category.
I can almost guarantee you, with 10 open 10 open slots for Best Picture, that Black Panther is almost certainly going to be nominated as one of those 10. I will be
Okay.
shocked if it is not.
Okay.
I don't think it should, but I think it will.
Okay.
And I'm going to have some future
Are you
comments on it.
going to be boycotting the Oscars at the?
I'm not going to boycott the Oscars. Well, I'm just not going to watch. I mean, it's not like I'm going to like remove it from my Twitter feed, but I'm not going to watch the ceremony. I mean, if they for some reason nominated Infinity War, absolutely I'll watch the ceremony. But if they only nominate Black Panther, I'm going to feel like it's a travesty over them nominating Infinity War in the same year.
Here's a stat for you. Whether this is fully true or not here, it's not fully vetted. Do you know how many movies come out every year in the U.S.?
I would say 110, 20.
No, over 600.
Wow.
Okay, there was 689 that came out. 2014, it was 706. 2015, it was 705. 2016, it's 729. My whole point of the matter is there's a shit fucking ton of movies out there that come out. So when somebody sits there and tells me that it's going to be this, there is 650 other movies that could probably be considered that nobody's watched all of them. And so I'm sitting there, if one is left off or one's not put on, there's a ton out there that has to be considered. Now, you only watch about maybe 15 to 20. But
Probably
you're
less than
always
that.
adamant that somehow that Daisy Ridley needs to be getting the Best Actress award, but you haven't watched any of their 620 other movies out there to somehow find out if her performance is the top 5. But based on your viewing of only 20 movies, it was the best one in those, of course. That's why the whole thing is just such a shit show for me, because there's so many movies that come out with so many different actors and directors, and only with some sort of like, some buzz or some popularity or something run in, do they get considered. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of it at all.
Well,
The whole thing just it speaks to me of like, you know what? Why don't you sample everything? And if you sampled everything, then I can maybe like have some respect for your opinion. But sometimes you're only sampling like 3 out of 1,000, and then you're like, this is the one I want, because you only really sampled what you wanted to sample. Anyway, I'm going off a tirade again. Um, so you think they will resurrect this at some point in time?
I hope so. We'll see what happens in 2020. If we never hear about it again, then we know that they've just pushed it under the cart. But if they want,
I think. Here, I'm going to give a prediction and let's move on. I give a prediction. I think they're going to move on because I'm not sure how they can actually make this category work. Because is it going to be based on monetary amounts of money? Like I'm not really sure how they would do it, because at that point, if you're going to sit there and go, any movie that makes over like $400 million can be considered. it's going to be offensive one
I
day
think
when
it's
they have
probably going to
when they have Transformers 7, Fast and Furious 10, and what if the only movies for the 2020 whatever else, the only movies that made over $400 million were Transformers 8, Pirates of the Caribbean 7, Paranormal Activity number 9. I would think that would just be laughable for them. It would be laughable for them going, so the best Oscar for best popular picture goes to Paranormal Activity number 7. It would just look embarrassing to them. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it does. It
I mean, of course, it's easy for them to sit there when you have, like, let's say, a Black Panther movie that people and critics seem to enjoy, and Infinity War. It's all great when you have that. But wait for the next year for the over $400 million movies when you have like Boss Baby 2 and some other crap like that out there.
Well, first of all, Boss Baby 2 would go into the animated category because they
Well, you
have a
get what I'm
category for
saying.
that.
Dumb and Dumber 3, Zoolander 3, Bill. You get my point.
I think it's not going to. I think
It's going to have a monetary amount. It has to be
it
established.
might be an element, but I think they're probably going to consider other elements as well as part of the fact that it made X amount of dollars. It's probably going to be something about critical buzz, or it had 98.9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
We're going to take the Rotten Tomato score and then take a 20% algorithm of how much money it makes and our Rotten Tomato score. Oh,
I think it's going
aren't
to have.
you already turned off? You don't even go to the Rotten Tomatoes thing now, really?
No, I'm not. But again, if they're going to nominate movies that are movies I actually see or have an interest in seeing or have any modicum of giving a fuck that they exist, then I'm excited about it. The possibility that something that I actually see could be closer to being nominated than it has been than things I've seen in the last 15 to 20 years, yeah, that's got my ears perked up.
I don't know why they're chasing you. You know what? You don't have any love for them or what they do, but yet they're still chasing you down. Okay. What I want to tell to the what I want to say the Oscars, he's just not that into you. That's what I want to tell him. That's what I want to tell him. He's just not that into you.
I'm into them if they are into things I'm into.
They need to move on and find somebody else to love them because
But-
you're not the one to love them. So I
But
don't know why
they don't
keep
care about
chasing
me.
you.
They care about people like me who aren't watching their current telecast.
Yeah, that's their problem. Once again, that's like it's just like DC and how they operate. We want you to love us. What can we do to make you love us? And you're sitting there with your head turned up, going like this. I don't know. I need you to do a little dance, maybe a little jig for me. And then you're like this.
Well-
Okay, should I give you some soft shoe? You like soft shoe, and then I'm giving you a little soft shoe, and then you're like this. I don't like soft shoe. Soft
Or-
shoe, so 70s. I
Or
want you to go ahead.
they can put your Oscar telecast on Netflix, which is the home to all rejects and forgotten entities of television and film, and make it so that only a certain fragment of people that are currently watching watch their show. I would look for budget cuts at the Oscars if that was the case. Netflix isn't exactly throwing around the big bucks, if you know what I mean.
Aren't we just probably over award shows now, Bill? In 2018 and going onward, I mean, this shit has always been trending downhill anyway. Aren't we over award shows since everybody's got a Twitter account, everybody's on Facebook, everybody's got Rotten Tomatoes access, everybody's writing their own 2 cents. No longer do you have the monopoly with Siskel and Ebert and whatever his name was from the Today Show or whatever. You no longer have that. Everybody has a voice, and it's all watered down. Do we really care?
The Oscars
You
will
really
always. The
I mean, you
Oscars
walk
will-
away with the Force Awakens. Force Awakens wasn't nominated. Do you care?
No, because the
You're
Force
going to still get all your Star Wars movie. Daisy
Right.
really still going to be in other stuff. You still get the Blu-ray. It doesn't affect somehow the movie not being made or any other part 2s or part 3s or anything else like that. Does it
No,
really
but
matter?
everybody, it's a human nature thing for people to want other people to be into the stuff they're into. And so if it was to be acknowledged by some jury or some group of people that hand out golden statuettes every year, I don't think I'm going to turn my nose up at the fact that it's something that I care about got some kind of acclaim. I mean, everybody wants the other people to sort of understand their
So are
particular
you happy
likes
when
and dislikes.
MTV Awards names their best picture to be Force Awakens? Do you turn in to watch the MTV
I
Awards?
don't tune in to watch it, but I don't think it's a bad thing for that to happen. But it's
Well,
the
no,
Oscars.
there's
The
always a nice
Oscars is
get an
the
award
Oscars
for
is
something,
different.
but you're not watching the MTV Awards.
Well, no, because the MTV
You're
Awards
not
ain't
watching
the
the
Oscar.
Nickelodeon. Are you watching the Nickelodeon Awards when they give Daisy
No,
Ridley?
because they're not the Oscars. I mean, it's a there's Oscars are in a different category of it's the highest level that an actor, producer, director, whatever person in that particular field in Hollywood can go. I mean, that's just the way it is. So you can not like the Oscars, in which I don't, and I don't participate in watching them. After many many years, but I still acknowledge the fact that it's somehow
But
the
you
highest.
understand the politics of the whole Oscars to begin with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I understand it to my satisfaction as far as like, yeah, I
And
get,
you consider the system to be flawed.
I do.
But you're one of those, long as your movie's getting the award, you're okay with the flawed system.
Correct. That's correct.
I feel like in sometimes with you, like the words like logic and everything else like that, you're just your own creature. It's just the weirdest thing, and
Why is it
sometimes
so
I
weird?
go with this rabbit hole here. You're just like this. I can't stand it. It's not fair. The system's politics. Bill, they're nominating your movie. It's excellent. Thank God they gave them the Oscar.
That's right.
Oh, oh.
I want my people to get a recognition.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. If I could sit here and just hook you up and lobotomize you, I would. But the
Wow.
law prevents me. That's what I would do. I would hook you up. I would hook you up to the electro machine and just bolt you.
Wow.
Bolt you every time.
Wow. I gotta be me, like the old song says.
I know.
I don't know what else to be.
It is difficult to be your friend sometimes in these things. It's just
You're,
so.
that's rich.
It is like carrying water uphill. It's carrying water uphill. I look forward to having Nadia on the show. I have a feeling though she seems to skew towards you, not so much in terms of your racist notions, but generally speaking,
Generally speaking.
I think she skews towards some of your opinions on.
Why would you
on
think
the
that?
movie.
She's always talking about how good you are.
Please. She seems to like your movie proclivities. So I'm going to try to be on.
Chicks are
Let's try-
down with me. What can I say?
Okay. You see the Captain Marvel trailer?
I did. Yawn. I keep watching it, trying to like it more, and it doesn't really happen for me.
I've only watched it once, and I felt like
I watched it 7 or 8 times.
I felt like I didn't need to watch it more. But for me, I was expecting for it to be a lot worse, and it wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Is that the measurement we're judging good things now by? It wasn't a shit wreck, so
Well,
I guess it's okay.
well, technically, with most of these trailers, I find for the superhero films, it's like the Shazam thing. It's like with Wonder Woman. I know this is Marvel. That most of the time they try to do a general audience trailer where they give you some sort of intense action, and then they sit there and they go, "I'm going to destroy you," but then they have to follow up with some comedy because they want to let everybody know that, hey, we're not. It's not just drama here. We've got action, we've got comedy, and it just really just ticks me off to be, even at a certain level of having made billions of dollars in movies and having people follow your each and every movie build upon, we still have to do this whole generalized because we're scared to give the people maybe a serious trailer because it may just turn them off.
How about a seriously boring trailer? Will that turn them off? Because that's what I got.
But they're locked and loaded.
Seriously.
They're locked and loaded for Marvel now. I mean, it's the perfect thing here. It's all it is like an ongoing series. It's an ongoing series like a Breaking Bad. You have to see what's going to happen next. There might be an episode that might be boring, but long as it links up to the next one and carries a story and you're into the story, you'll watch it. And that's
Listen,
what's happening.
I'm not going to complain about a year that's upcoming in which we get Aquaman, Glass, Infinity War 2, Shazam, X-Men Dark Phoenix, Spider-Man: Homecoming or Far From Home, whatever they're calling it. I mean, that's a banner year for movies for me, but this just doesn't look like it. And you know what? I'll be the first person to tell you, oftentimes, 98.9% of the time, I don't like the Marvel trailers, and the movie turns out to be something I thoroughly enjoy. I'm not saying that I won't enjoy the movie from the trailer. I'm saying this trailer doesn't get me excited for the movie the way I think it should. The way the Infinity War trailer got me excited for Infinity War, even though the money shot in that trailer turned out to be completely bogus and wasn't even in the movie, but I digress. What I say about it is, as a Green Lantern DC EU fan, I don't see a whole lot in this trailer that differentiates the Captain Marvel origin story from the origin story that happened in Green Lantern. I hope that they do make it look different in the movie. But as I'm sitting here now, I feel like I saw this movie in 2011. It was called Green Lantern. That's the impression I keep getting. I like Green Lantern, so I'm not complaining about it. But I'm just saying it's not really busting out the originality yet.
I think with all these things, they should always start hard, some gravitas, something that says epic. It was a weak start for their new phase coming up.
Which part of it did you think she was epic in? When she was like, when Samuel L. Jackson was like, "You're not from around these parts, are ya?" And she was like, "It's a long story." Oh,
Yeah, this.
oh,
These are the things that I've always said, that they're trite and predictable. We've seen this written a million times.
it's
Especially
really her delivery that I have the problem with.
when they're showing her as a young girl. It almost just strikes of, we know how this goes. Like, I was kicked down as a kid, now I was weak, now I'm all powerful. You can write the lines in and of themselves.
All I'm saying is Kevin Feige has gone on record multiple times stating the fact that
Ugh.
she's supposed to be the most powerful woman character in the MCU. Powerful superhero, period. Don't want to qualify that. I don't see that from this trailer. I saw some glowy shit around her body that looked kind of cool. Her glowy eyeballs look kind of cool. She shot some shit out of her fists that looked okay. I just don't understand why she's supposed to be so. And if she's the most powerful, does that mean the most powerful is also the most meekletoast and wishy-wash and not forcefully? I don't know. I didn't get Gal Gadot from her. I didn't get
I will point out
Scarlett Johansson from her.
What did I point out from you from the beginning about Brie Larson?
She's dishwater.
That's what I told you from the beginning when she was first cast.
I understand, but I believe in Kevin Feige, and I believe in the fact that they've made 20 movies that I think the casting has been spot on for. I hope they don't disappoint me for the first time. Well, actually, second. I'm not counting Chadwick Boseman.
We all know how this is gonna go. You're gonna call her milquetoast right now, but after you watch the movie, you're gonna sit there and go, you know what, that Brie Larson, she won me over with her acting.
If she did, she did. If she does, she does. If she doesn't, she won't. That's not to say that she will. Chadwick Boseman didn't, and I'm still complaining about him 2 years later.
Oh, you're starting to come around with Chad. You're starting to come around. You've watched it a few more times.
I said he's better in Infinity War than he was.
You're getting into it. Another year from now, you'll be sitting here saying Wakanda Forever, coming up here with the Black Panther sheet. We're waiting for part 3. That's what you'll be doing.
Okay.
You might be celebrating Kwanzaa by 2019.
Wow, really? I'm just saying, as it stands now, I mean, all I have to go on is the trailer they've shown me, and that's all I have. And judging from that, I'm not. My titties aren't a Twitter.
Yeah. What more can I say? I watched the trailer once. I didn't watch it again.
There you go. Right?
Don't need to. Well, I'll wait for trailer 2, and maybe they'll do something exciting where she'll rip a tank apart with her hands, or maybe like punch the Hulk and he goes flying or something. Then I might be interested. But right now, with a whole bunch of talky talk, and I'm like, I don't know. And
the most exciting character in this movie looks to me like Samuel L. Jackson. Now, I'm all down with a younger version, which, by the way, the de-aging that they're doing looks fucking fantastic. because they're always good at that.
Looks
But
great.
we'll see. Yeah, looks real good. So we'll see, I guess, how he loses his eyeball or whatever.
Do you know that for a fact? Is that what they're going for?
I mean, it would make sense since we've seen him in every other movie with only a patch. That at some point they're going to explain, in either in this movie or a future movie, how he loses that eye.
That's interesting.
I mean, doesn't she punch? Well, of course, maybe that's not. Anyway, let's move on. That was the only scene in the movie that I thought was actually kind of different and unique. Was when she punched the old lady. By the way.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see with Captain Marvel. I mean, every time I've doubted them from Black Panther when we discussed that when it came out, the Ant-Man and Wasp movies, it's clear that the people enjoy having these movies linked up in the greater story. Once Avengers Infinity War Part 2 is over, that creates like a natural break. But the thing about it is, they're about to reload up with the X-Men and some other stuff here.
Right, but the X-Men aren't going to be available to them for, they said, about, first of all, the deal has to close, and that doesn't happen for another year. Once the deal closes, I mean, I'm sure they're probably working on some kind of script or some kind of basic like plot outlines for this already. But it's going to be a little while before the X. I don't think the X-Men are going to be up and ready to run by the time Infinity War 2 is out. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the whole idea is you got to have just the thing about it is once it ends, like with any story, you watch the first season of Walking Dead, and that was it. And then all of a sudden we started with the second season, and you're just like, they're on a farm, it's kind of boring, and then you tuned out.
Right.
So the question is, once Thanos is defeated, Milquetoast Brie Larson comes in, and she's going to be the leader of the second, whatever it is, Phase 4, or the new heroes. I guess you want to make sure everything is sort of locked down. And
right. I mean,
sort of exciting where you're going, because at that point that can create a natural drop, a point where people just jump off. They were in it to win it, to find out where it was going to lead up to Thanos. Once Thanos is over, where do we go from here? We defeated the big bad.
Especially considering the fact that, some of these people are probably not going to continue on into Phase 4. Some of them are probably done.
Right. So it's the same thing. We're down with Chris Evans. We're down with Chris Hemsworth, RDJ. You got all these. And next thing you know, you're just like, okay, well, who's coming up? We got the B group. Who plays the White Wolf? Who plays the Winter Soldier?
Stan?
Yeah. All of a sudden, you got Sebastian Stan. Then you got Falcon. Then you got Brie Larson. And people are going to be like, I was with them for all these movies, but now these other characters, they don't seem as exciting to me. That could be a problem.
But they could also have, the issue is, will the characters continue, but the actors and the characters who are playing them, because, they could always do a Winter Soldier becomes Captain America if Steve Rogers dies. Or they could go with Anthony Mackie becoming Captain America. You have them stepping into the part, not necessarily playing Falcon in the future, he'll play Captain America in the future, or not necessarily playing Winter Soldier, he'll be Captain America. Or if Chris Hemsworth doesn't come back, they will make maybe Tessa Thompson Thor.
Yeah, that's my whole point, though. Are you going to will the people be into these people taking on these other roles that they grew up with? And whether they'll be interested in that, Bill.
And I think that's going to be the great Marvel experiment. Once Phase 3 is over, then they decide to either reboot or recast these parts.
Who was in Breaking Bad? What's his name?
Who?
Not Aaron Paul, the main actor.
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, come on.
I can't remember his name, but I know exactly who you're talking
about. Here we go. What is it? Oh, good Lord.
He started out on soap operas.
Bryan Cranston?
Right.
Anyway, this is not a good example. I'm poor with these examples here. But after Breaking Bad ends, it's almost like doing something with Aaron Paul. Well, I was interested in Bryan Cranston and his story. I'm not necessarily interested in Aaron Paul. I don't care if he's filling in or not. I don't like Aaron Paul. I don't think that's it. And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that there's some sort of like, I hate Anthony Mackie or something. But in terms of like, I kind of liked him in a secondary role, and I don't know if I want him as my Captain America. Nothing personal.
But I think the people, and I think that's sort of proven itself. I think there's no more movie stars. As much as we identify Captain America with Chris Evans, I think the fact that there is a Captain America still on our movie screens is going to be preferable to people to just retiring the Captain America character altogether. I think while Chris Evans' contributions to the character should not be understated because he's perfect in the part, I think at the bottom line is people are going to see a Captain America movie, not a Chris Evans movie when they see Captain America. So I think they'll be okay. I mean, there's going to be a comeuppance for Marvel. It happens to everyone, but I don't know that that's going to be the sword that they fall on. It's going to be something, and maybe that will be it.
I think the infusion of a new story with some sort of with the X-Men and expanding, they have to show some sort of other big villain or something else that happens. Like I don't know what happens after the end of Infinity War, but maybe they have to start planting the seeds for something else on the horizon. I would think that's how it would have to end. Like, you have to have something else to sit this is going to be the next jumping point, or some sort of creature that's awakened after killing Thanos or something that has to, point to this is where we're going now. And at least bringing the idea of having like the X-Men characters come in, I think people would be excited about, like the X-Men here with the Avengers. How great would that be? But I think to leave it out there and then have the old guard leave, I still think that's without some sort of like introduction of other X-Men characters. I don't know if that's going to be.
What would you prefer if when they bring the?
I'm not saying that you eliminate. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that Captain America needs to be eliminated. I understand about when we talk about movie stars. I just don't know like the excitement with some of these characters who have always sort of played second fiddle to the main stars. Now all of a sudden you're telling me it's almost like they graduated. Okay, they're no longer seniors. The seniors are gone, and now the juniors are the seniors. Well, it's like with anything else. Well, that's great. They're not bad. I just don't know if I'm really interested in that further. At some point in time, you jump off, like with Walking Dead. You start losing some of the main characters, and they introduce other characters that have been on the show, but you're just like, I'm not interested in these other characters. I'm interested in Rick Grimes. If Rick Grimes is not there, they're going to be like, well, this other guy's going to take over. He's been on the show. And you're just like, I understand that, but I like Rick Grimes. Okay. I mean, Rick Grimes, what's his name? Daryl, the Hillbillies now going to be the Rick Grimes. He's going to be the leader. Okay, well, some people like him, and other people are going to be like, I don't like him.
Well, the thing about it is that actors run out of.
I'm just saying, I feel like this is, like you said, the Great Marvel Experiment. It's going to be interesting if all these stars drop off.
It will be, and I think that the fact that these people have been,
if they were to sit there and go, we're putting Anthony Mackie as Captain America and Tessa Thompson as Thor, and Siri or whatever else his name is from Wakanda as Iron Man, do you not think that maybe Marvel can weather this? Do you not think there's going to be some sort of like huge discussion on diversity and backlash or whatever else, or you think that's going to be okay?
I think there will be a backlash. Will it be a Star Wars The Last Jedi size backlash? I doubt it. I think as long as Marvel keeps offering people the quality that they are looking for, not to say that that no one else is offering them quality, because I think they are, but people are down with Marvel's game where they're not down with other people's game. If they keep it up, I think they'll be okay. I think the other issue is that because you have these secondary characters that have been in the MCU since the very beginning, talking about Sebastian Stan as Bucky, talking about Anthony Mackie as Falcon, those characters we've followed for 20 plus films. I think people are invested enough in them that they want to see them ascend to the A level, and they will be invested in them if they do. So,
yeah. Last comment on this.
Rather than bringing in new people that no one knows about, I think it's different.
Yeah. I think here this last comment here. I'm collecting my thoughts on this, and I know where I'm going with it. You have these characters that are considered alphas. You know, when you look at the room of the Avengers, when you had like Thor sit around with Iron Man and Captain America, those are the alphas. And most of some of the other characters themselves are sort of sidekicks. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You know, they're not on the main team. They're the ones on the periphery, not as big stars, but they're still part of the team and necessary to help the story put forward. They're not alphas. Now all of a sudden you're trying to take what characters that you had put as sidekicks, and now you want them to be the Robert Downey Juniors. And if they were the Robert Downey Juniors, that's what they would have been, but they weren't. And so now you're going to try to elevate their shine. And I just don't know how that's going to go. I mean,
I think if anyone is poised for this transition and is on solid ground for this transition, up to this point, I think Marvel is. Also, these
this
you
is
cannot.
exactly the point where DC needs to have their shit together, because right after Infinity War 2 drops, this is going to be the part where you need to have a great storyline and some weakness. Because when they start to change gears and start to include all these other elements and switch out their main characters, this is the point where you need to be striking. This is the
Right.
law. For this will be the law, because the Thanos story will be over. This will be the law.
Right. Um,
I mean, I'm just saying, as a business guy, this is, if you're going to do something, this is the point where you really need to be, if you want to take a bite into their proceeds.
right.
Go
But
ahead.
you can't expect these actors. I mean, Chris Evans wants to do something else with his career. Now, he wants to do something else. Whatever it is, he's played Captain America for a long time. You can't expect them to just do this for infinity. Um, and they want to move on and stretch their legs. So at some point, Chris Evans is going to be like 40 something years old, and he's going to be running around in a Captain America costume. I
Oh,
mean, maybe
that's
that's not what he
ridiculous.
wants.
Well, okay. We're going to continue this because I'm kind of interested in this part here. Well, let me ask you this, Bill. Let's just say I understand that you got to progress it and you got to move forward. And well, I'm asking your opinion, so I already kind of know where you're going to go with this. But if I told you, like, okay, so the new team is going to be made of Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, Anthony Mackie, Falcon. What's her name? Scarlet Witch. What's the actress name?
Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth Olsen. Who else? Who
Hulk.
else? Okay, we can put the Hulk on there. What's his actor's name?
Scarlet. Eric. No, not Eric Bana.
No.
That was the previous Hulk. Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo, and then we'll take Sebastian Stan, and we'll keep him as the Winter Soldier. It just doesn't seem like an exciting team with Iron Man. I mean, this is almost like it's almost like having like when you say, like, it's like taking the DC characters. Your team consists of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And now what you're telling me, there's going to be no Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And now you're going to give me the Wonder Twins. You're going to give me Crypto the dog. And you're going to give me Cyborg. And I'm going to look at you and go, these aren't the icons, Bill.
No.
I mean, these characters aren't bad. Don't tell me, they're all part of it, but they're like, they assist the main characters.
No,
okay?
You're not going to have Sebastian Stan as
You
Winter
don't. You don't have a Falcon book. You don't have a Falcon comic.
You do, actually, but
okay.
But what if instead of having Winter Soldier leading the Avengers, you have Winter Soldier become Captain America? So it's still Captain America leading the Avengers. It's not that he's playing the second-tier character. He's ascended to a higher authority. And he's the perfect person to pick up the mantle if Chris Evans wants to hang it up. I mean, Bucky and Steve were best friends going back to the origin of Captain America. before I would want Anthony Mackie, and I don't have an objection to Anthony Mackie becoming Captain America at some point either, but I do think Bucky is the natural continuation of that character, second in line.
So you think it would be a mistake for them if they didn't replace Captain America then?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be a mistake if they didn't replace Iron Man?
Yes.
Same thing for Thor.
Yes. You don't want these be great characters. What you want to do is put these characters up in the roles that they were. And that's what's cool about Marvel is that there is only one Superman. There is only one Wonder Woman. There's only one Batman.
So you see the problem then. If they don't replace these iconic characters and they just allow a team to exist without them, that would pose a problem.
Right. Yeah, that becomes lesser than what it was before. But the advantage they have is that they have already had these characters become different, occupied by different people in the same costumes. And therefore you get to keep the character name. It's
what do you
still
mean,
called
comic books?
Yeah, and so it's still
comic books.
Well, they pull all sorts of shit from the comic books, Jay. I mean, they don't always do a one-to-one correlation.
I know, but I don't know if this is the movie industry is completely different here.
Well,
I mean, in the comic books and Watchmen, you had an octopus take over the world. Okay,
right.
They didn't put an octopus in the movie because they figured the fans would sit there and be like, "That's just ridiculous." But that's what was happening.
Bucky stepping up to Captain America is not exactly comparable to them replacing an octopus with a nuclear bomb. But okay.
No, I think it's easier to maybe replace Sebastian Stan and put him in that role. I think you could probably do that. I don't know about some of these other characters stepping into those things. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be as easy as that.
Shuri is one of the breakout characters from Black Panther. Okay, no one could argue that. I don't think she was all that great, but apparently people fell in love with her. Okay, what if you have Shuri, who's supposed to be like the smartest person, even smarter than Tony and Mark and Bruce Banner, and you have Iron Man getting ready to die, and he's like, I need somebody to carry on my experiments or whatever. And he goes to Shuri, and he's like, I want to mentor you for a while. And then she becomes Ironheart. It seems like these kind of can flow pretty well if they handle it right.
Okay.
I mean, she's already a popular character. She's already been introduced to the MCU. It's not like they're going to bring her in just as he's dying and suddenly she becomes Iron Man. You know what I mean? By the time he's ready to hang it up, she will have been in 1, 2, 3, 4 films.
I don't have a problem with this. I guess my concerns is more about Joe and Jane Sixpack.
If Joe and Jane
comic books, I know that in the comics you can change all sorts of things and people can take over different parts. I read comics. This is just part of the way of the world. But I don't know if necessarily these things flow, which is why you had a problem with Fantastic Four when you have different people playing different parts. You know, you sit there, you change one thing, and then people go nuts over nonsense when you sit there and you go, this is just an iteration of it. You had Chris Evans as Captain America. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, let's just say they decide, instead of going Sebastian Stan, they decided to put Anthony Mackie in there because, you know, they want to do the storyline where there was a black Captain America. Then all of a sudden you're dealing with it. Well, that's not Captain America. It's not Captain America. Okay, well, that's just one storyline. We once again, we go back to this. We start going back over the same ground of going, that's not what it is. It can't be that. It can't be this. Is that what's going to happen again?
I don't.
Are we past Fantastic Four? Michael B. Jordan being Human
Torch?
No,
I think there's always
we're not past that.
No, but I think the problem with Fantastic Four was that people didn't like the movie. I mean, Michael Jordan's part.
They were bitching and moaning about Michael Jordan as Human Torch, which already put a stink on the movie before it came out on the message boards. Okay,
yeah,
let's not act like somehow the people went into the movie and go, I'll judge it first. They were already judging it on the casting.
But part of the stink comes when people feel like the movie adaptations are not being faithful to the origins in the comics, and everyone knows
it is not as though somehow it wasn't like somehow this was the first time they made a Fantastic Four movie. You already had a couple of them. They decided to reboot it and do something different.
Right, but classic.
It's not like somehow they're doing like, it's almost like they hey, we never done a Green Lantern movie. what we're going to do with Green Lantern is we're going to cast as Hal Jordan an Asian guy. Okay, people would lose their shit, but you've already cast Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan. If they were to choose something different, I would be like, well, they already tried it that way. They're trying something different, as they do in most of these things. The people act like it's somehow that none of these things they can never be changed.
Because first of all, fanboys are overgrown children, and being an overgrown child myself, but do not include myself in a fanboy way. I understand that people get married to these ideas of what they have always been represented as a certain character. And part of the problem, or part of the success of these modern day comic book movies, in particular Marvel, is that people feel like they are not necessarily direct adaptations, but they honor the spirit of the comics from which they were born. And I think that lends them a sense of authenticity with people. And I think by keeping those characters from the comics into the cinematic universe lends an air of authenticity to people. Now, if you were just to say, for example, in Fantastic Four, which has never been represented in a comic as a person of color, the Human Torch, that we're just going to change it up because we want to be more inclusive or whatever, then people have the tendency to, that's where the backlash comes from. Because people say, oh, well, they're just doing this to be hip now with it, whatever. But having a precedent, however, they already set the precedent in the comics, it maintains that authenticity that people recall, oh, yeah, they've done this in the book. That's genuine to the character.
So if they haven't had a chance to do that in the book, then you somehow telling me they still can't make a change somehow into
They can, but there's going to
everyone-
be a backlash. More of a backlash than they will if they've already done it in the book. I don't think that people would have the same problem with Ironheart or for
Anthony Mackie as Captain
Anthony
America.
Mackie to be Captain America as they did with Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch. I don't think they would, because there's been a precedent set already. Whereas with the Human Torch, there wasn't one.
Why can't the movie set the precedent, Bill?
I think the fanboys are the ones that have
Nobody's
to answer
reading
that
the
question
comic
for
book
you.
as much anymore. Nobody's going to the comic book stores as much.
Yeah, but everybody gets Wikipedia, Jay, and everybody can read a fucking Wikipedia entry and figure out what happened with their character's history.
This is only for the fucking geeks. Okay, this is geeks. Nobody up there. Nobody. My woman's not upstairs reading the Wikipedia to find out whether or not Michael B. Jordan is like the real iteration of the Human Torch. If there's some sort of like history for it to verify it.
Right.
She's not doing that. I
Right.
don't think the average person is.
Right.
The only
Okay.
average person goes is, I know the Fantastic Four and I know Johnny Storm and he had blonde hair. That's all he knows. They don't know about like all the other, how many times Fantastic Four has been rebooted and Johnny Storm has had a crew cut or long hair or mustache. They don't know. They just have one idea.
And
They
they
don't
also have a Twitter
They had
feed.
a
in
side
which-
story where there was some sort of like Doctor Doom created some sort of time machine where they went back and switched things for like 4 or 5 issues. They wouldn't really know that either.
but they also have a Twitter feed, the fanboys, and they can amplify their voice from one person's opinion to being retweeted 5 billion times within a split of a second, and then everybody who reads that goes, "Yeah, that's not authentic. They never did that in the book. This is some bullshit." Boom, backlash.
Listen, I'm not going to doubt that they can stick the landing on this because I've been wrong before on this machine here. Okay.
Mhm.
From Black Panther to Ant-Man and Wasp and the rest of it. I'll be curious as to where they're going with it. I'll support them on it. But it's going to be a curious time, and I think I'm over the haterade and the negativity because I would like there to be different changes. It's like Joker. We've got a million different Jokers now. I think people are open to it. The reason why is because they've already had so many Jokers and the same thing, and they're just like, okay, well, let's just get a different take on it now. It's accepted. Nobody's sitting there going, it has to be like Jack Nicholson's Joker. He's got to wear the purple. He's got to wear the purple suit, and he's got to be just like that. No, they're like, we can do it different ways now, and everybody sits there and goes, okay, well, this is what my Joker's going to do. He's going to have the tattoo of damage across him, and he's going to be a pimp.
It's just backwards. Who needs a Joker movie? Who needs a Venom movie without Spider-Man or Batman? Why are we making movies based on villains? I don't understand this whole idea. It still seems weird and antithetical to the entire
Would you
principle.
be okay if they came out with a Superman movie?
Of
Henry
course.
Cavill. No,
It's
let me
Superman.
finish. Let me finish. Henry Cavill, Superman, but they're not going to do Man of Steel 2. They're going to do the Red Sun story, where what's his name? Kal-El, instead of landing over in Smallville, he lands over in St. Petersburg, Russia. So he becomes the Red Sun. You know, the Russian equivalent of.
So you're
Superman.
basically saying reboot it with Red Sun, but keeping Henry Cavill?
Yeah.
No, I'm not down with it.
Why not?
Because they've built.
It's in the book. There's a book.
They've built the character over
Popular.
3 films in a continuity that seems to be following and paying off. The more you watch it, the more you get out of it. And now we're just going to switch gears and totally change the origin of the character, even though he's played by the same actor, and it's no longer connected to anything that's already happened. That feels like a rip to me. That's like saying, let's do Rebirth or the New 52, or, every other, year we're going to have a whole brand new. And I get it. I get why they do it, because no one's going to get bogged down with 50,000 comic books they have to read. But as somebody who's been invested in their universe or quasi-universe or semi-universe, whatever you want to call it, there's 5 films that have been released so far that, whether tangentially or more than that, kind of combine into at least some kind of cohesive universe. And I'd like to see that expanded upon rather than cast aside, because I'm invested more the more I get to see that world. It's the same reason why Infinity War made $1.8 billion. You don't think that people who haven't seen any of the Marvel movies before were going back to see that movie more than once? People have built up some kind of goodwill with it from seeing all these characters develop over all this time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Infinity War is a payoff to people who've invested in the universe that they've built. Just
Absolutely.
like I wish,
Absolutely.
Just like I would hope that DC will get on firmer ground at some point and be able to establish a universe in which I can say, this is the 10th time Henry Cavill's played Superman, and he's the best he's been in it yet.
Okay. I felt like I disagreed with you a lot more today than usual.
That's fine. You're allowed.
I don't know.
Do you want to do box office?
Yeah, I got the box office up here. I think I'm done with your nonsense.
That's nice.
I'm very curious. There's a lot to think about here, where this is all headed and everything else.
I think Marvel's going to be fine. I think DC is eventually going to find their footing in whatever.
No, well, you're always with the positive.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm going to love it.
You always want to be Pollyannic with it, that they're going to find it. They've been trying to find their steps for. I mean, we've been doing this show for a while now, and it always seems to always go with whether or not they've got their shit together. And
well, Fox has been bought by Disney,
and they're always 2 steps forward, 3 steps back on this.
Sure. All it's going to take, Jay, is for them to continue to do something that people like. Wonder Woman is it right now, but they can build on that, and hopefully will build on that to find the audience that so far eluded them. I do believe that DC will find their footing. Now, whether if they find it to my liking is a different story, but I think they will become more popular.
Well, it's not going to become more popular doing Birds of Prey and Supergirl. Okay, that's
okay. Fair enough.
I mean, they need to invite us into the meeting. I can tell you, this is not the path. This is not the path.
Do you know who's in that room? It's Jim Lee and Jeff Johns. Those are the people who are heading DC. If they don't know the DC direction that DC should go in, then who does?
Yeah, they know comic books, Bill. Once again, I don't know why somehow you're taking somebody that was a writer over in a comic book and then elevating them to be some sort of manager, like somehow they're Kevin Feige that they can guide. Just because you can do one thing well doesn't mean you can do something else well. Okay? Just
They
because George
again,
Lucas can make a $1 billion franchise doesn't mean he can go in there and make a frittata.
they
Okay?
know the what makes DC tick and what makes DC a DC property. That's what they know. Now,
They
translating
know
that
they know how to sit there and make and write a good comic book movie. A movie business is completely different.
a good
Okay?
comic book.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's completely different because I'm going to the comic book store with my child to read a comic book, and we're reading all sorts of things, octopus, all sorts of crazy nonsense. Now you're talking about making a movie that costs $200 million, and you're not catering, as you said, to my specific taste. You now have got to cater to my woman upstairs who doesn't go see these movies normally. You have to cater to her taste. Now Jeff Johns has been dealing with Dungeons and Dragons and watching Cartoon Network with the rest of the geeks holed up in their basement, hanging around, doing Stranger Things shit. Now you're asking him to relate to all the general audience members, and he's going to be like this. Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to do the Green Lantern storyline where like all the lanterns start to get the different type of colors because of rage, and all this executives are going, Jeff, you're losing me. You're like, no, 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 listen, and then we're gonna have like the dragon from the Oa planet will come down and he will do this. And they're like, Jeff, you're losing me, Jeff. We need to sit there and tone this down a little bit. And he's gonna be like, what? This worked in the comic books. This will work. Come on, Bill. Really?
I think it's worked for Marvel. I don't know why it doesn't work for DC. I can't explain that because being authentic to the books is what's gotten Marvel the reputation that they've gotten. I
Being
don't
authentic
understand.
to the books is what it's got.
Yeah, it's certainly an element that's in there. I'm not saying it's the only element, but I'm saying it's the one that sort of sets them apart from all the other comic book universes or comic book movies that have been orphaned out there in the universe that's been out.
And what has
Daredevil.
been somehow not authentic to the DC world? Man of Steel was the origin story of Superman.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why it doesn't
So
translate for DC.
let's not act like somehow they're over there. It's a bigger thing. There's a lot of different other issues. I just because you have Jeff Johns in the room, I don't somehow think that's the end all be all. You still got to hire people to direct the movie and to have the vision. It's like
Well, let's
Todd
see what
McFarlane.
James.
When Todd McFarlane comes out with Spawn, you're going to be like, if anybody knows Spawn, it's going to be Todd McFarlane. All right. And then when that trailer drops and I call you up on the phone, it looks like crap. It's not going to be like, well, he's the only one that can make this work, Todd McFarlane, because he's the. I don't think it means shit. Actually, I
We'll
mean,
see what happens with James Wan and Aquaman.
what I need from Jeff Johns is to tell a damn good story and to write some good fucking dialogue. That's what I need from him. I mean,
Well,
that,
he's
that
not a director and he's not a writer. He's just the overseer. I mean, he
well,
is a writer for comics, but he's not a
yeah,
director
well,
for
based
film
on
or.
where things are going, don't you think that should be changing then?
Well,
I mean, don't you think there should be a different
they
direction?
did change. They did. Jeff Johns stepped down from being like the Kevin Feige and put Jim Lee up there instead. So
Yeah.
Jeff Johns is now with the company, but he's not creative CCO anymore. That's Jim Lee.
The more you sit there and try to sell the positive nature of, the more I sit there and be like this. I'm just shaking my head, going. What they need to do is they need to roll up the Brinks truck. They need to roll it straight up to Kevin Feige's house and get him over there.
Right, because Kevin Feige always does everything perfectly right.
Well,
Never
no.
dissatisfies anybody.
Oh, he's made billions of dollars in movies for Marvel. So all I'm
Maybe
saying.
Disney, since they bought everybody else, they'll buy DC from Warner and we'll have everybody in the same universe.
Okay, all right. We can spend hours on this, you and me. I know our fans are like, let it go, Payne, let it go. I'm gonna let it go.
Let's do box office because I gotta make it go in a moment. If you know what I
September.
mean.
Are you making a potty joke?
Yeah, I do.
That's so
Yeah.
nasty.
I
September
thought it was quite
21.
subtle.
Uh, Does your significant other fart in front of you?
No. Is yours? I can't believe we're talking about this on air. This is not something that we should be talking about. I'm just going to let you not answer that question and let's
I
move on.
wasn't going to answer that question.
Okay.
September 21 through the September 23rd of 2018. Um, the number one movie in for this past weekend in its opening debut, The House with a Clock in Its Walls.
That's the longest, most convoluted fucking title for a movie I've ever heard in my life.
The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Eli Roth, I believe.
Yeah, surprisingly, he made a family film. You know, the same guy that did Saw, where people have to make a choice between saving their friends or getting their tongues cut out. Yeah.
I thought he did Hostel, not Saw, but
Oh, maybe you're right. You're probably
um,
right. Same diff.
Hostel was very violent. I'm not a fan of Eli Roth. He did Cabin Fever too. I'm not a fan of his work. I also
I'm
think he
not
can
either, but
act.
doesn't this look like kind of like the Monster Squad, like 80s kind of kid-friendly horror movie? Sometimes I don't like horror because it's too scary. And this seems like, you know, scary but spooky scary, not like frightening, terrifying scary. And plus a little bit of fun. It looks like fun.
Monster Squad was one of my favorite movies. I actually had it on VHS,
Yeah.
and it was, I thought, underrated for its time. But Monster Squad was kind of violent and everything else. The House with the Clock in Its Walls, obviously, I haven't seen it, but with the trailer, it seems more like Goosebumps a little bit.
Yeah, that looks fun
You know,
too.
in the Monster Squad, you actually had Dracula look at the girl, and who was very scary, and the movie goes like, "Give me that amulet, you bitch." That's what he says in the movie. Okay,
Right.
I don't think a house with a clock in its walls, they have that type of thing going on. They have Jack Black playing like the bumbling, whatever stepfather. You know what I mean? Like it's a fun
Right.
movie, but I don't think it's as dark as Monster Squad got.
Right.
I just don't think that's something that they would even think about doing. It's interesting that Eli Roth is cast in it, but I don't know. Yeah,
So
I
what's
think
number
a
two?
I think a Monster Squad is a time we won't we won't hit again unless it's straight to DVD.
Or Netflix.
The what's that?
Or Netflix.
Netflix. There you go. I forgot about Netflix.
Yeah, nobody
It's
buys
yeah.
DVDs.
Anyway, it made about $26 million. Stars Kate Blanchett and Jack Black. Its budget is $42 million. It actually looks great for $42 million, though.
Sure.
It looks like
What
it
happens when
actually
you
has.
don't hire like A-list people to put in your movie? Although Kate Blanchett's pretty A-list.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for 42 million though. It looks like it would have cost more. But anyway, number two, me and my woman were thinking about. My woman and I were thinking about going to the movies yesterday, and we were thinking about this movie in its third week of release, A Simple Favor.
What the hell is it? I never heard of it.
It stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively.
Okay, is that supposed to get me in the theater? What?
No, it looked like it was some sort of like Gone Girl, like Anna Kendrick befriends Blake Lively befriends Anna Kendrick, and then all of a sudden, like I think Blake Lively disappears, and there's a mystery as to what happened to her, and
It
whatever
only
else.
made
Like
$10 million.
it only made, well, this is in its third week, Bill.
Oh, okay.
So its budget seems to be unknown, but for 3 weeks, including the foreign box office, it's pulled in $42 million. The movie couldn't have cost much to make. I
I
don't
don't know.
think.
Blake Lively, she might be worth a pretty penny. I don't know.
Is she?
I don't know.
What has she done? Like, what is that? Ryan Reynolds' wife?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she?
I don't know. I don't see that many movies. I don't know.
I'm looking over her. Last thing that made some money was Green Lantern for her.
No, wasn't that shark movie she was in?
The Shallows
Yeah.
that made $55 million.
Oh, I don't know.
The Age of Adeline, 42 million. Savages, 47 million. She's the queen of making like 50 million bucks. And then in 2016, she made Cafe Society that made $11 million.
Maybe she's more of a TV star.
I don't know if she's. I don't think she's
Box
box
office girl.
office. I think last movie was Green Lantern, and that was really Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. All right, number three. I digress. Hold on. I digress. The Nun in its second week of release. Oof. Pulling
So
in 10 million bucks in
that
its
dropped
second
pretty
week of
hard.
release. But its total, it cost $22 to make, 22 million, and its total domestic is 100 million, and foreign it's 191 million. So over 2 weeks, it's brought in $292 million on a budget of 22 million.
That's a lot of money, but I'm surprised that A Simple Favor in its third week could jump over it after The Nun was just out 1 week. I'm surprised about that, considering also it's getting ready to be Halloween season.
Yeah, looks like everybody was just like, anybody that wanted to see The Nun saw it in its first week.
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess there's
I think we're still going to try The Conjuring if I can convince my husband into trying it. I think we're going to start our Halloween-a-thon like next weekend.
Yeah, isn't it on Netflix?
Yes, I believe it
Yeah,
is.
you have to let me know how that goes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that Predator was opening this weekend.
I didn't either. Neither apparently did anybody else. Because it's number 4.
Sheesh.
Shouldn't that be like
Goddamn.
number 1 or 2?
Fuck, out of all the advertising that they did. Anyway.
It didn't even make $10 million, Jay, and it cost 40 to make. It's over.
Well, wait, is this right? No, Bill. It's its second week of release.
Yes, just the second, and it made $8 million in its second week. How much did it make in its first? The total gross is $40 million. Oh, I was looking at the budget was $88 million. Yeah, it's not even made half its budget back. It's a tank. It's over. It's over. It's not coming back.
Is this because of Olivia Munn? Damn that Olivia Munn!
Right? Bitch has to always go shoot her mouth off, right? Well, she always got to talk so much.
We would have gone to see that movie, but the fact that Shane Black keeps hiring sexual offenders, we cannot go see that movie.
Wow.
Bill. I mean,
you know, Shane Black directed Iron Man 3, so he's in the Marvel universe. He might take over the Guardians of the Galaxy for all we know. Not now, maybe.
Yeah. You know, this is once again. Here you go. It's like the Alien movies. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find something that works because we want to make more Alien and Predator movies.
Was this a reboot or a continuation?
What do you mean? It's like a new story.
So they're starting over from scratch.
Well, in what sense? In the sense that we already know that predators exist. So it's not like somehow.
In the sense that this does not follow the continuity of the original franchise. Right? So, like, this is a.
What would be the continuity?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Aliens versus Predator is in there. Predator 2 is in there. Isn't there a Predator 3 or no?
No, but they did the Predator. What's his name? Adrian Brody was in one of them. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. It's not a reboot. I based on if you watch this trailer a couple of times, it's kind of established that we know what the Predators are.
Oh, okay.
So in some sense, it's not completely removed. Like we're starting all over. Like it's like the first movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But either way, I still feel as though they're still trying to find some sort of path, to make this work again. Like, to start a storyline, a trilogy, or something else, and they haven't been able to do it. They tried it with the Predator with Adrian Brody. Where did that go? That didn't go anywhere. They're still trying to find something that works, and I was kind of hoping this would, but
no, looks like it's not. So it's over for this one.
It's not. You know what actually just kind of turned me off on this film? I know you have to go. Was in the trailer when they talked about it being the ultimate Predator. I just felt like this was just one of those things. Like, this is where we're going with this. We have the Predator, and now the big selling point is this one's the ultimate Predator. He's bigger, stronger, and faster than the other Predators. I was just like, this is. I'm like, come on. This Predator is like, he's like, it's like a Superman with an extra costume. This is like the Superman super armor costume. It's all in steel. Or this one's like his space, Superman space outfit. You know what I mean? Like this
movie is irrelevant.
I know. I mean, I'll be happy to watch this on a Friday night. Don't get me wrong. This will be number one on my queue for the week that it comes out on DVD. But in terms of excitement, it was ruined for me when they said something about the Ultimate Predator because it's just weak. You're better off just having to just go old school where you just have one predator, hunting down a elite gang like they might have had in here. But anyway, I'm rambling. I know you're not interested in my predator take on this.
No, it's
I can
fine.
sense it in your system that you're just like, whatever. It made 10 cents. I don't care. I never liked the Predator to begin with. Not watching the shit. Who cares?
Should we talk about Crazy Rich Asians?
It's the number 5 movie. It pulled in another $6 million, bringing its total gross to $206 million worldwide. Interesting enough, it's made $159 million in the US and $47 million overseas. I don't know somehow if has it been released over in Asia?
I don't know, but
Because
I
if it is,
know
apparently they're not buying it.
it cost $30 million to make, and it's made how much? 200 million.
Yeah.
That's a big return on your investment.
I'm
Look at
sorry.
Crazy Rich Asians 2.
It's not the Nun movie. I can tell you what that. They've already okay. The Nun
Yeah.
has more money movie. than
Sure,
this.
but The Nun is in a genre that is quite popular at the moment. There hasn't been an Asian movie since Joy Luck Club. So this is what's making it stand out as a bigger
Yeah.
name
What
catcher.
why would you even dabble in this, Bill? Why would you
In
dabble
what?
in this?
And what, Crazy Rich Asians?
Well, no, you're going to do Crazy Rich Asians too because it's made you $200 million on a $30 million investment.
Sure.
But the reason why, if you haven't had one since the Joy Luck Club is because you're probably doing the shit that people want to see. Right now, if I was producing a popular cinema podcast versus producing movies, what would we be doing, Bill?
Probably something I don't want to say, but it would be
Okay, we're doing
smaller
superhero
driven.
movies. We would be doing superhero movies, Bill. That's what we'd be doing. That's where all the money is.
Yeah, but we'd be doing them on the Spawn level, like micro
Well, yeah.
budget.
Yeah, that's fine. But
We would
be
do
doing
glass. I'd love that.
Okay, we would do that. But certainly I wouldn't be coming to you going like after Infinity War makes $2 billion, I'm going to come into you like, Bill, I'm thinking about doing something about the Muslim experience in Mongolia. It's going to be like a kid growing up on the plains and then sort of like take over his family and milking the animals. I think it's ripe for that right now, Bill. I'm gonna need $20 million from the coffers.
Wow.
You'd be like this. Get the fuck out of my office, okay? We're gonna be doing the Falcon and Scarlet Witch, how they met. Okay, that's what we're gonna be doing. You know it. Why would you dabble in a high risk area?
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
high risk, and sometimes you get high reward. And that is what's going on right now. This movie makes sense in today's marketplace, Crazy Rich Asians, because Black Panther blew up the box office, and that was the first time a black superhero had been represented in a lead role. Now Crazy Rich Asians, which is a first time an Asian rom-com has been represented in such a forward way. I mean, it seems to me if I was on the board of one of these companies, I would look at these things and say, obviously, diversity is the key to success.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna. What's the word? I'm gonna splice this together. And what did you just say? Diversity is the key to success.
I said if I looked at the numbers on a piece of paper and I was a studio executive, it would seem to me to indicate, based on numbers, that diversity is a key to success.
Bill, that is going to be the title of episode 74.
Really?
That's going to be the
you
new
can't
mantra.
argue with the numbers.
That's going to be the mantra of Popular Cinema Podcast. I'm going to put it in I'm going to make sure that we have an inclusion policy
Wow.
on the Popular Cinema Podcast and make sure that all our guest hosts that we're considering everybody and not just white males.
Wow. I mean, I'm just saying, right? You don't have to be a fan of it to appreciate its box office legitimacy.
I want the people to know out there, Bill did vote for Obama for both 2 terms, even though it seemed like he might have voted for Trump. He voted for Obama.
Yes, I did. I did not vote for Trump.
And voted for Hillary. Unfortunately,
Right.
that's so let's just put it out there. All right. I don't want the people thinking you're crazy. Peppermint, what's your favorite actress? Jennifer Garner, $30 million.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be a Peppermint 2.
Assassination Nation was also out there. It only made $1 million. Have you seen the Meg yet? You have not seen the Meg yet.
I have not, but it's made good money. I bet you it's. Oh wait, the budget was 130 million. Woo, that seems high. But
It seems high. There seems to be a lot of these other movies like This Is Us. There's a movie called Life Itself that was out there. It pulled in $2 million.
yeah, I'm sorry. Do you see the studio?
Amazon.
Yeah. Stick to instant downloads. Okay. That's the message to Amazon. Don't get too big for your britches.
Okay. Well, maybe next week we can discuss some of the topics we haven't got to. I wanted to go over cult films with you. That'll probably lead to another argument, but I'm willing to go there. Cult films. We got to do surprise endings. I know it's the fall TV season. I got the EW, which came out with all the shows. We didn't get to that. That's fine. Hopefully, we'll have Nadia on the show in 2 weeks. Maybe
Hope she's listening so she can know that we're counting on her.
Yeah, maybe find out some topics, whatever else like that. She seems very knowledgeable movies. It'll be interesting to have a different voice out there.
Female.
Yeah. And technically, to be
some
quite
estrogen
honest
up in this mofo.
To be quite honest with you, as we got to wrap this up, I know you got to go, Bill. It'll be interesting. Outside of Chris Tran, I've seen most of the guests we've met or have known.
Right.
I think this will be the first time we have a guest on the show that is somebody that we don't see on a normal basis.
I agree.
It'll be very interesting here. We have to be very professional that day, Bill. I mean, I want you to wear a suit to the studio.
Right. I'll wear my Jar Jar tie. How's that?
Okie dokie here. All right. Well, I've been your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill. Are you going to start some music, or we're just going to cold outro?
Well, no, I'm going to start the music, but I want to say what I want to say.
Late.
I want to say no, what do you mean it's a little late? I say I'm the co-host, Payne, and you say
I'm your co-host, Bill, but you usually start the music while we're doing that.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm changing it up. I want us to make sure our voices are heard.
Oh, okay. I think they've heard plenty from us today.
That's great. The next episode will be episode 75. Exciting. That
75.
seems like a hallmark of days. Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you.
Old Man Palooza. All right. Bye.
Thank you.